Elf I am the protagonist template, Invincible chapter 401 to 420. 401. You have no future, tactically lean back. This, potential. Baizi on the stand was stunned for a moment, then, as if he had understood something, he chuckled. It seems that Chihong sensed Reshiram's exist. And at the same time, in the field, Reshiram's warm female voice also came from Tuzi's ears. The boy opposite seems to have found me, and he is still inviting me to fight. How about it? Have you decided? Do you need it? Need my strength blessing? Quote. Hey, forget it. After pondering for a while, Tuzi finally smiled and rejected Reshiram's proposal that might turn her defeat into victory. Although she knew very well that if she didn't use Reshiram's power, she would inevitably usher in an inevitable defeat. But as long as I haven't accepted my fate, it doesn't count as the final defeat in my life. Then failure will also be the nourishment for me to keep going. Come on. Tuzi's eyes glowed with a different kind of style, and under Reshiram's gentle gaze raised 25, he threw the third Pokeball, Fiery Arrow Eagle. Hey, underscore. Like a cloud-piercing rock, a bird of prey covered in flame patterns deformed from the rays of the Pokeball. However, similar to the two elves before, this fierce arrow eagle also has a blue and blue flame pattern that is very different from its peers. Flag Eagle, Blue Flame Form, Champion Elementary. Another open hung. Baizi, who was sitting on the edge fence of the auditorium, tutted his tongue. Speaking of which, Tuko should count all that Baizi saw was the only one among the protagonist and enemy. Sex trainer too. But also normal. After all, holding a fire dragon that has reached the realm of the gods is equivalent to carrying a forerunner on the road to the realm of the gods. Naturally, a fool knows how to choose. Just, ellipsis. 3 consecutive fire-type handhelds have produced such a similar mutation, especially since King Yanwu still has such obvious changes before and after, he can't allow others to think too much. Baizi rushed to guarantee tickets. After this competition is over, there will definitely be all kinds of people and organizations looking for Tuzi to explore the secrets of her elf's mutation. And the way to explore is nothing more than the words, coercion and inducement. But for Toko, who is pregnant with the legendary Reshiram, who will be unlucky at that time. And on the field. Although Tuzi's determination was firm enough, and Fierce Arrow Eagle also burst out with a remarkable fighting will, but in the face of the Crimson who was almost completely serious. The final performance is nothing but the word, struggle. Sandstorm. Ga tilde. On the field, accompanied by the waving of the Gala Gala bone stick, the sand and dust all over the sky danced wildly like a snake, and finally drove the soaring arrow eagle into a corner. In an instant, the entangled sand rope instantly wrapped the fierce arrow eagle and pulled it down to the ground ruthlessly. Immediately after. There was no need for Crimson's order, the Gala Gala bone stick that had been prepared was picked up again, and the rock block like a peak suddenly condensed out, from bottom to top, slammed and was pulled and pulled. On the body of the arrow eagle below. With a miserable cry, the fierce arrow eagle, which was directly hit to fainting in midair, fell powerlessly like a kite with a broken string. The scarred body appeals about its struggle for this battle. Come back. Tuzi immediately took out the Pokeball and took the fierce arrow eagle back, avoiding the secondary damage that the fierce arrow eagle might cause. Still, did you lose? He pursed his lips. Although he said it very firmly before, he was still a little unwilling after all. After all, I also want to teach that guy a good lesson on the field. Tuko pouted. As the referee announced the final verdict, he bowed politely, then turned and walked towards the corridor. The third one. Crimson, advance. Next is the last match of the semifinals. Baizi from Kanto Junshin Town will play against Crystal from Rui Town, the capital city. Following the simple announcement of the narrator, Baizi walked out of the corridor, which immediately aroused enthusiastic cheers from the audience. This year's competition was surprising enough. Strong. Especially the rookie trainers who are young, but their strength is completely out of line, all have a lot of prestige. Even, many people with a heavy regional concept have deliberately led to a new topic. There are no super rookie trainers in that area. This, super rookie trainer, refers to the training of teenage, monster, level, or, quasi-monster, level who have only debuted for a year or two like Baizi, Akin, and Alice. Family. This aspect is naturally the Kanto comes out on top. It was a fluke to have one appear elsewhere. 4 of them came out in one breath from Kanto, and they were simply crushed. For example, Chengdu and Hejong are not bad, but there are also super rookies emerging in their respective regions. Fangyuan, Shanao and other places are almost run down. After all, according to a certain hot stock that was also brought up, you have no future. To be frank, when Baizi flipped through these things, he couldn't help but secretly guess that this thing was probably created by the headquarters of the Kanto Alliance. After all, over the years, it has always been Kanto that has occupied the most resources, but the Kanto Alliance, which has not even got the 4 Heavenly Kings champions together, has been ridiculed by other regions for lack of connection. Unmanned. This is just great. A grand event directly caused the Kanto Alliance to fight a beautiful turnaround. No follow-up. Blue and yellow do not pick up. Take a good look. The top 8 have 4, and the top 4 are almost all taken. What is a big Kanto? Open black lens bracket tactical lean back. JPG close black lens bracket. Moreover, Baizi also learned from Dr. Damu that if the champion of this competition is born in Kanto, the alliance will prepare a special reward. Thinking about whether there are some or not, Baizi stood on the battle podium. The field of grass rises. Glancing at the dignified capturer, on the opposite side, Baizi was thinking about what kind of destiny reward he would get. Suddenly, I felt the 3rd Pokeball on my waist shake wildly. Huh. He immediately raised his eyebrows. P.S. Crystal tilde. 402. Suicune appears. Quick kill. You are. Baizi's expression was a little surprised, but he still stopped to touch the palm of the first Pokeball, and the power of the spiritual link suddenly rushed into the last Pokeball. And then, an ethereal special telepathy sounded from his ear. Baizi, can this battle be left to me? I had contact with this girl when I was traveling in the Chengdu area before. She once challenged me to an unfinished challenge, and when I meet again, I hope I can give back. Answer. Baizi pondered for a moment, then suddenly asked, she should have been one of your candidate trainers, right? Quote. Yes, but. Sui Jun seemed to want to introduce something, but was quickly interrupted by Baizi. Okay, anyway, no matter what kind of scenery you encountered during your trip, in the end, you still stop. Stay with me, don't you? Inside the diving ball, Sujin, who was independent of a lake around the island, had a gentle expression, and a firmness flashed in his eyes. Yes, I will always follow you, Lord. On the field. After the referee Caesar looked around for a while, he said loudly, please prepare to play the elves. Baizi took off the diving ball. Next second. After the 2 sides looked at each other, they threw the Pokeball in their hands at the same time. The special throwing technique makes the crystal Pokeball fall to the ground first. Imprinted in front of Baizi. It is a green upright vulture resembling an ancient sacrifice. This kind of elf Baizi has seen before. With 2 stripes, it is also a female natural bird. Open black lens bracket race. Natural bird close black lens bracket. Attribute. Super energy, flying. Characteristic. Magic mirror, Monty. Unaffected by changing skills, and will reflect it. Level. Peak of Kings, level 69, 2100ths. Opening square bracket ellipsis closing square bracket. Status. Perfect. Introduction. Excellent qualifications, with the ability to silently release the ability to predict the future. Quote. Ellipsis. Tilde. Baizi casually glanced at the data of the natural bird and paid no attention. Although the lion fights the rabbit, it also uses all its strength. But compared to the previous match with Akin, Ibrahimovic's strength is almost the same as the opponent's, or even slightly weaker. The beginning of the return. Suicune and Laplace, whose levels were stuck at the peak of the Heavenly Kings, went to the Viking forest on purpose long before Baizi went to Baiyan Mountain, found a few hospitable elf overlords, and brushed their levels up. The championship field. In. Laplace has accumulated a lot of money, and with the help of the treasures of heaven and earth swallowed in a large amount in his body, he broke through to level 74 in one breath, the middle-level champion. Suicune was a little later, but he was also successfully promoted to the champion, reaching the level of 70. The champion beats the king. Class difference. Unless it is Baizi and Crimson among the elves, such monster-level abnormal individuals, the probability of victory is infinitely equal to 0. Arena. The light flickered. When Suicune's elegant and light figure appeared in the field, the blue gem on the top of his head exuded a slight glow, and the wind-like streamer automatically moved without wind. Shuijun. Wait. Crystal's pupils shrank suddenly. She recognized this Sujin. At first, she had a brief contact with him in a secluded pool in the forest. That beautiful figure is still fresh in her memory. And at the same time, the entire venue fell into silence in an instant, and the needles could almost be heard falling. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. After 10 seconds. Wow, underscore. As if suddenly awakened, the entire venue suddenly fell into a sea of noisy sound waves. Fuck. FCK. FCK. Water, Suicune. What is this? What is this? You. We. What? Tell me, what is this? Kneel down, Bai Zexuan. Abu, Big Brother Baizi really surprises us all in every game. Yeah, unknown elf, multi-attribute evolution Ibrahimovic, and now, even local legends like Suicune have been released. 10 years old fans, come uninvited. Not only the scene, but the live broadcast platform of elf.com, the audience in front of the TV screen, especially the trainers and people from all walks of life in the two cities of Kanto City, couldn't hold back one by one. Unlike the legends that were not widely circulated in the hands of Dacdo before, and were basically rarely known, as the three holy beasts of the Fenghuang Guard, in Guandu, it is not only a legend, but also a legend. Close to a kind of totem belief. This is the difference between hearing about someone summoning Nidhogg in Norse mythology in a previous life, and witnessing the summoning of the dragon with his own eyes. That sense of historical and cultural identity is absolutely incomparable. This is really. The commentator and referee Caesar, who is also a Kanto native, was also shocked. Fortunately, his professionalism was excellent, and he quickly recovered. Please prepare for both players. After the reminder, he immediately waved the flag in his hand. The game begins. One command. The crystal quickly converged on the distractions, and immediately issued the attack command, electromagnetic wave. D.S. As a natural bird with a mysterious power, he dared not be careless. With a wave of his wings, a violent arc suddenly shot out, lacing towards the energy nodes of Sujin's lower head and forehead. At the same time, Yingying's pink brilliance shone from the eyes of the natural bird, apparently spontaneously using some unknown skill. It has to be said that from the crystal's order to the natural bird's release of skills, it almost happened between the electric light and the flint. But the electric arc flew, but it directly penetrated Sui Jun's body. And in the next second, Wu Tilda, accompanied by Qing Yin, Suicune's graceful figure appeared on the side of the good, natural bird like a teleportation. Beast's mouth opened, directly biting the neck of the natural bird. Frozen teeth. D.S. The incoming chill made the natural bird freeze, and the frost marks on its body gradually appeared everywhere on its body. The natural bird fell into the freeze. And then, with Sui Jun taking advantage of the trend, he made a bow. Boom! Underscore. The dust and grass were flying, the ground collapsed, and in a blink of an eye, the natural birds had been searched into the ground. His eyes bulged, and white foam was spit out. It seems that he has lost the ability to fight. Skills, swift and young. 403. The ninth destiny, the fist of preemption. Championship. Crystal's heart sank suddenly, and at the same time, she also roughly estimated the level of Suicune. But, according to some of the information revealed in the previous battle against Baizi, Feromero, Ibrahimovic, and the Suicune in front of him are already 3 champions. Although she has enough confidence to rely on her unique weakness, tactics, she can achieve combo kills and even one-hit kills among her peers. Unrealistic to want to play 1 against 2, or even 1 against 3. So, looks like I have to try to replace Suicune before the general comes out. And if you want to succeed in one strike, you must not be able to arouse the vigilance of the other party. Crystal pondered in her heart, her thoughts were surging, and after recovering the natural bird that had passed out in the field, she slowly took out a Pokeball with a golden star imprint from her waist. Regardless of Crystal's rehearsal of tactics at this time. The other side. In Baizi's ear, the moment after Suicune defeated the natural bird, the familiar sound of the system sounded. Your Sujin killed Crystal's natural bird in seconds, and gained a little, Sujin Express +5, Frozen Fang Proficiency 310 degrees +1, Godspeed Proficiency +1. Ding! Defeat the Son of Destiny, special additional reward, catch the ball. Capture the ball. Feeling the tactile feeling that suddenly appeared in the palm of his hand, Baizi raised his eyebrows slightly, taking advantage of the crystal to replace the elf's neutral position, and swept his gaze to the capture ball, the size of a ping-pong ball in his hand. The appearance is no different from an ordinary red and white ball, except that the front end of the red upper half of the crystal is printed with a golden star mark. And its effect. Capture ball. Throw it out, it will definitely hit the energy node of the target elf, forcing capture. Open black lens bracket note 1, does not include domestication function close black lens bracket. Note 2, the target's strength must not exceed the championship level. Just like that. Baizi's eyes showed a hint of disappointment. Compared with the previous Destiny rewards, this 9th Destiny reward was a bit chilling. But talk is better than nothing. What's more, Baizi didn't pay any more attention now that he was still in the game. After putting it in his pocket, he looked at the opposite field. Crystal player, please release the second elves as soon as possible. With the referee's reminder. Crystal then unhurriedly threw the Pokeball in his hand. White light flashes. A humanoid elf wearing a samurai armor with red gloves wrapped around his hands appeared on the field. Kuei Quan Lang, boxing Pokémon. But, different from other Kuei Quan Lang, this Kuei Quan Lang of Crystal seems to be a little more petite in size, with a golden star imprint on the glove of both fists. Kai Quan Lang, the Peak of the King, level 69, 85/100. Kai Quan Lang, Thunderbolt Fist. See-through. Following Crystal's immediate order, Kuei Quan Lang touched his fists, and layers of lightning flashed. Then, an invisible ripple spread out from Kuei Quan Lang's eyes. Positive. Seeing that Kuei Quan Lang had no intention of attacking first, Bai Zhejian raised his eyebrows lightly and softly ordered, supernatural power. Wu tilde. Sui Jun let out a soft moan, his eyes glowed with white light, and the invisible and intangible spiritual power rushed towards Kuei Quan Lang. Are you not close? Crystal frowned and commanded succinctly, avoid. The voice did not fall. Kuei Quan Lang has already taken small steps to the side, and his mental power swept past, even a step slower. Without Baizi's instructions, Suicune once again used his magic power, and the almost substantial blue mental power turned into countless ropes, and hurried towards Kuei Quan Lang. Hold on. Pam Pung. Kuei Quan Lang slammed his fists together, and a layer of bright green energy shield suddenly rose, covering it. Next second. CFED, psychic rope whipped. With a roar, After a short stalemate, the power of thought and the shield cancelled out, but the explosion caused Kuai-Quan Lang to retreat again and again due to the impact, and he seemed to be a little unstable for a while. Look. Show the enemy's weakness. Lure the enemy deep. Quickly recalling the brief confrontation in the field in his mind, Bai Zi's eyes flashed with a judgment in his heart, and then he ordered, "Godly fast." As soon as the words fell, Bai Zi keenly discovered the suppressed ecstasy in Crystal's eyes. And on the field. Swoosh. Sujin's figure seemed to be integrated into the north wind, and he rose up in the wind. His lithe figure was like a ray of breeze, skipping halfway, and dashed towards Kuai-Quan Lang's side. The cold light lingered in his mouth, and he had to repeat the old trick again. But Suicune was just about to probe. Next second. Brush. A fist that shone with metallic luster, as if it had been known in advance, suddenly struck out halfway, and the heavy hammer hit Suicune's next one. And then. La 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 la. The boxing hits like a rain curtain. The orange-red, enhanced punch, is mixed with the brown, sonic punch. On the joints of Suijun's body, as well as on the energy nodes. Fixed, in the air by Kuai-Quan Lang's surging punch. From afar. It's as if the figures of countless Katanakos are circling around Sujin's body and threw their fists crazily. Done. Crystal secretly clenched her fists. But when he looked up, he met Bai Zi's clear and calm eyes. The combination of weakness insight, like seeing through energy nodes, and action prediction of subtle movements, almost every blow is marked as a prediction of foreseeing the future, plus vital strike, tracking skills. The fist of preemption. Great. Bai Zi's voice spread throughout the audience through the loudspeaker, and many audience members suddenly felt a sense of comprehension. Of course he really appreciated it. After all, this is just talent, not ability, and a crystal that can bring talent to such a degree deserves this praise. Just. Faced with this, Crystal's expression was full of surprise. Quote. It seems that you are wondering why I am so calm. Bai Zi's face was full of smiles, and he raised his palm lightly. Slap, underscore. In a crisp fingering sound. Inside the field. Sip tilde. As Kuai-Quan Lang punched out again, it suddenly changed. 404. The final style of the crystal, the geranium of its own position. Order. Click, click. I saw that after receiving this punch, a layer of transparent mask suddenly appeared around the body of Sujin, and it quickly shattered, turning into countless light spots that danced and spread out. And with this layer of shield formed by the magic power, disappeared. The fist force passed through the body instantly. Sip underscore. The body of Suicune exploded and turned into a cloud of white tilde smoke. A substitute. Tuzi's eyes narrowed fiercely, and suddenly shouted, Kuai-Quan Lang, look. The word, where, has not yet been exported. Next second. Hum underscore. A layer of azure mental power immediately emerged from Kuai-Quan Lang's body, tying it directly, and then suddenly tightening. Supernatural power. Ha. Click underscore. The mournful screams were accompanied by crisp bone fractures, but this Kuai-Quan Lang was unexpectedly stoic, and Suicune could even feel the almost negligible amount of mental power in it. Struggle. Suijun's eyes flashed with admiration. Next second. The eyes shine brightly. Sip underscore. The Kuai-Quan Lang, who was fastened in the mental power, instantly lifted into the sky and fell, and the smoke rose and dispersed, and Suijun slowly descended from the sky to the ground. In the pothole at his feet, Kuai-Quan Lang has lost his fighting ability. You commanded Suijun to defeat Crystal's Kuai-Quan Lang. Battle EXP +10, Suijun EXP +5, Divine Speed EXP +1, Magical Power EXP +1. Completely seen through. Crystal shook his head with a wry smile, took out the Pokeball, and put away Kuai-Quan Lang. You've done a good job. After whispering a word, she put away Kuai-Quan Lang's Pokeball, quickly lifted her spirits, and released her third Pokémon. Also, her trump card. the final evolution form of the three families of grass family in the capital city. Geranium. Appearance is similar to sauropod dinosaurs. The whole body is green, different from the two stages before evolution, chrysanthemum leaves and bay leaves. The leaves on the head are covered with two beige stamens on the nose of geranium replaced by protuberances, both apex with their anthers attached. Eyes pale yellow. The most striking thing is the pink flower around the end of the neck. It is said that the breath exhaled by geranium contains the power to revive withered vegetation, and the scent of its petals contains the ingredients to soothe the mind and weaken the opponent's will to fight. Open black lens bracket race. Geranium close black lens bracket. Attribute: grass. Characteristic: lush HP is reduced, and the power of grass-type moves will be increased. Level: champion beginner, level 70, 4100s. Potential: quasi-god. HP: 80, attack, 82, defense, 100, special attack, 83, special defense, 100, speed, 80. Skills: flower dance, flying leaf knife, crazy plant, sunbeam, aromatherapy, mysterious guardian, photosynthesis. Genetic skills: rooted, double return. Prop: momentum towel. Status: perfect. Introduction: the personality is firm and will not shrink in the slightest, and its endurance is different from that of ordinary beasts. It is called by the crystal as having a million-ton courage. The use of individual skills has reached the level of instinct level. This skill panel: is it a gun tank? Baizi thought in his heart. And inside the field, after the geranium landed, it was just a look at each other, and the action started spontaneously without the crystal's instructions. Yeah. In the soft and cute long singing, countless light brown energy rhizomes spread out from the soles of the feet as deep as the ground, and at the same time, a layer of pink petals flew out, flying around the geranium. Dance, and then, an invisible halo appeared on the body, and the big pink flowers also bloomed in the sun. Take root one by one. Falling English is colorful. Mysterious guardian. Photosynthesis. The corners of Baizi's mouth twitched as he looked at the geranium, who had already formed his own position in the blink of an eye, and was speechless. But Baizi was speechless, and the other party would not be polite to him. Formation of the position. Next second. Sunbeam. Yeah tilde. The soft moan resounded again. Whoosh underscore. A small light green light, only the thickness of a thumb, was like a laser, and suddenly shot out from the surrounding petals. In the blink of an eye, it spanned a distance of hundreds of meters and hit the top of Sujin directly. Gem. ... Ask for flowers. God fast. Baizi reacted quickly, but he still couldn't help being secretly shocked. This attack of the sunbeam was too fast. And it's so small. Is it the reason why the power is sacrificed to increase the speed? Thoughts in mind. In the field. With the blessing of divine speed, Suicune easily avoided the swiftly approaching sunbeam. But the next second. Swoosh swish. The sunbeam that passed by Suijun unexpectedly exploded in an instant, turning into countless smaller, toothpick-like rays that scatter in all directions. Woo tilde. Such a close distance, Suicune, who was unable to dodge, was suddenly scattered by dozens of mini solar beams. 0. The damage caused by the scattered mini sunbeams is not large. Suicune just groaned and exited from the state of super speed, and there was not much of a problem. But after that, caught. As if it took a huge amount of energy, the crystal-tired navy blue eyes gleaming with hot sweat constantly seeping from the forehead and temples. Dazu, crazy plant. Yeah. In the long low-pitched sound, the colorful energy petals of Luiying scattered and fluttered in all directions, and the exposed geraniums raised their front feet high. Next second. Step down suddenly. Boom, underscore. The ground trembled and the soil was tumbling. Numerous sturdy rhizomes and vines emerged from the foot of Sujin, growing wildly, directly including Sujin who could not dodge, and quickly turned into giant vine tree stands in the center of the arena. One by one, crazy plants, only the grass-type Yusan can learn the big move, which is why the Yusan are classified into one category. And opposite. Seeing this scene, Baizi pulled his collar, and the corners of his mouth slowly twitched. Sure enough, even if it's not famous for its combat power, the owner of the illustrated book should not be underestimated. Begging. 405. Consonants, to the applause of the losers. Between words. In an instant. The beautiful scenery as if the stars are turning and the clouds gather and disperse rises from the blue eyes of Baizi. And he blinked, his eyes swept away in the direction of the auditorium, a faint, burning white thought surged through his body, raised a fever, and squeaked his high-necked coat. They're staring at me so closely one by one. If they don't reveal one or two whole cards, wouldn't those two guys be sleepless at night? Between the laughter and Yan, I don't know if it was a prank, Baizi pointed his finger in front of him, pointed the pair of beautiful pupils at the crystal, and spit out every word. Quote ... Harmony. Quote exclamation mark. Inexplicably, Crystal, who was stared directly at by these pair of pupils, was startled. And in the next moment, 310. In the field. Click, click. An astonishing cold air leaked from the inside of the giant vine tree created by the crazy plant, and a layer of frosty white color immediately adhered to it. In the blink of an eye, the entire vine giant tree was frozen into ice. After that, the cracks were like coral crawling on the cloth, and finally exploded. Woo tilde. Countless pieces of ice crystals were flying, and Sujin jumped out with a soft chant and stepped into the air. Like the wind passing over a mountain stream, a stream of light flashed, and he had already appeared behind Geranium. Puff puff puff. Yeah. The sound of flesh and blood being split was accompanied by the short screams of Geranium, and the Achilles tendon of its limbs suddenly burst into blood. Next second. Geranium's hoofs softened, and she fell to her knees directly. Rooting, skills that spread under the surface of the earth seemed to have been cut off from the energy supply, and immediately collapsed and became invisible. Air slash. This is. Crystal Apricot's eyes widened with disbelief. Because the position where Suicune hit the Geranium was clearly the position of the energy node under the surface of the Geranium. He actually. The crystal pupils trembled, but she knew that this was not the time to think about these things, so she immediately gave the order, Geranium, recreate the position. Yeah. Geranium lived up to its expectations. With extraordinary perseverance, she stood up, and on the body surface, the pieces of flying cherry gathered again. And at the same time. Located in the direction of Sujin's sky, the void opened a nebula-like hole like a ripple, locked Sujin, and shot a purple energy ball from it. This energy ball is the size of a round table, and its path is right in the middle of Suicune and Geranium. Predicting the future, it seems that the natural bird was not sacrificed in vain before. Baizi's eyes narrowed slightly, with a smile. At the time of defeat, staying behind means nothing. Is it a psychic attack of all the spiritual power? Have you been seen through again? But. Crystal wiped the sweat from her forehead, her eyes full of fighting spirit. The battle has just begun. Let's start the second round. No, it's over. Baizi shook his head, holding the seal with one hand and pointing at his eyes with the other. In front of these eyes, your strategy is meaningless. Words fall. Whoa. Like a clear spring crossing a stream, the gurgling sound gradually grew louder and louder, and a circle of water rose from the bottom of the Geranium's feet and swept over it suddenly, just like the crazy plant of the Geranium before. It turns into a tornado water curtain, and the Geraniums are like being submerged in the tidal whirl. And at the same time. Like a stream of light flashing, the half-moon white light in the arc suddenly appeared in the void, and the thought power group that had just condensed turned straight into two sides. Move, air slash. Immediately. Before the slashed psychic group exploded, Suijun threw himself out of it with a magic speed, opened his long kiss, and gushes out a fierce and strong cold air. In an instant, the tidal whirl stopped and turned into a mass of ice sculptures. Inside, there are lifelike geraniums that roar with their necks up and down among the cherry blossom petals. Absolute zero. Call. With Suikun's exhalation, the cold mist spread out from the closed corners of his mouth. And 1, 2, 3. A dozen circular arc air blades appeared one after another from above Suijun's head. Next second. Noon la 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 la. Geranium. The blades were flying, and the ice crystals were flying. Accompanied by the cry of the crystal, the green figure was thrown out and smashed heavily on the ground not far away. You commanded Suikun to defeat Crystal's geranium, and gained a little, battle proficiency plus 2-0, Suikun freezing light proficiency plus 3, speed proficiency plus 3, air/proficiency plus 3. The system beep sounded, indicating the victory of the battle. But for a moment. Wow! In Baizi's surprised eyes, his eyes were white and his eyes were dull. Geranium, who had obviously fallen into an unconscious coma, stood up again tremblingly. A faint light flickered on the forehead, and a sunbeam that was scattered to the extreme flew, hitting the ground that was at least 5 or 6 meters away from Suikun. At this moment, Baizi and Suijun were silent. The venue was also plunged into silence. Enough, enough. With the trembling sound of crying, Crystal quickly took out the Pokeball, wrapped it in the ray capsule, and put the geranium back into the Pokeball. You've done a great job. After putting the Pokeball to her mouth and saying a sentence, Crystal adjusted her emotions and forced a smile. I lost. Wow! 4.3 in the venue erupted in a wave of warm applause. Baizi knew in his heart that the applause was not for himself and Suikun who were the victors, but for the geraniums that gave Crystals the moving tenacity. Baizi was not dissatisfied, and also sincerely offered applause. Although it is not wrong for the victor to enjoy cheers, applause and flowers, this will, and the bond between the elves and the trainers expressed in it, is the most beautiful in the elves' world, and it is also the most moving thing, isn't it? 406. The General Library of the Alliance, Yulongdu. Finals are over, and the qualifying list. Xiaohuang, Qinglu, Qihong, and Baze are all from Junshin Town in the Kanto region. Junshinjun suddenly became famous overseas for reasons other than Dr. Damu. The hometown of champions, the term uttered by the self-explainer Caesar also frequently appeared in the mouths of countless spectators and trainers. At the same time, it also has a new term, Monster Land. In the same way, the Kanto Alliance also missed a lot of face. It is said that the then chairman of the alliance, Damalan, the prime minister personally promised that night, the champion of this competition will be you are allowed to go to the general library of the alliance and choose a treasure at will. And it is especially emphasized, no matter who the champion is. Well, this is a bit shameless to hear from other regional leagues. No matter who. No matter what, aren't you still from Kanto? The meat is rotten in the pot, does it make a difference? Wipe. That night. The disturbance from the outside did not affect Baizi. After dinner, he returned to the 25-room-only room for players and began to meditate quietly. Except for Mashado who was hiding in the shadows, there were also Lai Kongzai and Kang Shang, and the elves were all released. Fortunately, the room is big enough, otherwise it really can't fit them. The wind speed dog, the flaming monkey and the little Kapu Mingming formed a group of 3 nests, just behind Baizi. Suikun and Laplace were both in the bathroom, together with Gilly Egg, helping Baizi with the child. That is, little Lugia. Who are also water elements, as well as the logistics in the team. Take care of together. Boy Tilda. Ibrahimovic haunts Zoroark as always, but it seems that Zoroark is almost used to it, and is using hallucinations to test this voluntary experiment. Zeraora was still as cold as ever, sitting cross-legged and meditating on the balconies on both sides, just like the giant needlebee. Ferromero and Shinado were kneeling on both sides of Baizi. The two meet from time to time. Indistinctly, as if there were electric sparks flickering in it. This made the giant golden monster just in between the two very uncomfortable. If he wanted to move, the tigress on both sides glanced at him. That means, it clearly means, if you dare to move around and surprise your master, you will die. But if it doesn't move. Located in the center between the two low pressures, the spirit is sharp. The giant gold monster with 8 brains always feels that there are 2 swords of Christopher hanging on his head, and he is a little inattentive. Fall down and kill yourself. This. Not moving, not moving. T3R. Giant gold monster. I am too difficult. Night, getting deeper. While Baizi was meditating peacefully in the room, the other, final 4, players, without exception, were all lining up for tomorrow's game. Because of the special competition system, the opponents who need to be expected before the game must be considered comprehensive enough. It was fine before. On the one hand, the 3-way battle, and the strength of the opponents is uneven, enough to react on the way to the battle. But now, none of the rest are mediocre. Unlike Baizi, there are too many trump cards. Xiao Huang, Qing Green and even Crimson must arrange at least 3 sets of handheld tactics. The blue green and red, showing the level of potential and first-line main force, has Xiao Huang, who can be called the ancestor of the one-punch super bird, when the HP value is reduced to a certain level and the strength increases sharply. Which one, for the other 3, is a formidable enemy that must be taken seriously. The next day. At 9 o'clock in the morning, the semi-final opening ceremony. Biu. Along with the splendid fireworks rising, all kinds of elf firework forms rose into the sky. Immediately after, a man with red hair fluttering freely, riding on the back of a fast dragon, with a blood-colored lined cloak blown on his back, slowly landed in the center of the venue. Immediately. Oh. The cheers that were enough to overturn the ceiling came like a tidal wave, and the whole venue was filled with an extremely frenetic atmosphere, offering the warmest welcome to the visitors. It's the King of Heaven. The King of Heaven actually came in person. So handsome. Ah, the King of Heaven, I'm going to give birth to monkeys for you. Good. The Comer is the famous dragon master in Guandu and even the world. He is known as the first dragon messenger in the world champion, and number 1 in the 8 masters of the championship. A series of titles. Currently serving as the 4 heavenly kings of Chengguan East, and the strongest dragon trainer of the Chengdu champion, Yulongdu. From the atmosphere of the scene, it is enough to see the popularity of Yulongdu. But this is normal. In the elf world, the most respected are naturally powerful trainers. And Yulongdu is indisputable, one of the small group of people at the top of the pyramid. It is natural to have such popularity. But, as for other people's attention to Yulongdu itself, what Baizi pays attention to is the simple and honest-looking fat under Yulongdu. 310. This fast dragon has a scar from a young age on its throat. The camera-like memory made Baizi instantly recall that he had a glimpse of this fast dragon in the White Strait. At that time, he encountered a huge fast dragon, and naturally he did not have the time to explore the other party's data. And now in the player lounge, there is also no way to directly scan the opponent's data panel with the power of Baizi. But the intuition brought by Baizi's current eyesight and super spiritual power has long been different from what it used to be. The strength of this fast dragon. Baizi has a vague feeling that if his Shinado is in a normal state, it is very likely that he may not necessarily be the opponent's opponent. Yulongdu, it's a bit strong. P.S. Something happened at home. To put it simply, my mother fell ill again. 2-way disorder. It was almost 1 o'clock in the morning after some tossing. However, the chest is uncomfortable, but after thinking about it, I found that there is no way to relieve myself, so I simply continue to make up this chapter. 407. Crimson vs. Green, Viking's Lone Hunter. After Yulongdu's speech, the atmosphere of the venue became more enthusiastic. Adu, you are here. Championship. After a while, when Yulongdu returned to the observation room, Kona and Sharona stood up to greet him. Both belong to the 4 heavenly kings of Kanto, although the relationship between Kena and Yulongdu is not close, but they are not like the rumors from the outside world. Because of their mutual attributes, there is a rift with each other. The reason why Yulongdu couldn't be promoted to the champion of the Kwantung League was because he was stuck by the Ice King Kena with the help of his attribute advantage, and couldn't succeed. Heaven and Earth Conscience. When Kona saw such remarks for the first time, he thought that someone wanted to flatter him. To be honest, although they are both champion-level trainers, there are 3, 6, 9, and so on. There is no doubt that Yulongdu is the 3. And although she has the advantage of attributes, but with the help of holding and fighting Yulongdu, she must be defeated in the end. The reason why Yulongdu did not take up the position of champion of the Kanto League. It is purely because this guy is arrogant. He has to follow the traditional method, that is, to defeat all the 4 incumbent kings at one time to become the champion of Kanto. Yulongdu is indeed strong enough, but the other 3 heavenly kings in Kanto are not fuel-efficient lamps, and it is still exhausting to want to push all 3 champion trainers in one go. As for Sharona, it was purely because of her courtesy towards Senior. It was Dr. Damu, who looked like an old god, was there. After Yulongdu greeted Kona and Sharona, he took a sip of hot tea and said, "Adu, you are actually free. Come over to watch a game. Aren't you busy eradicating evil all over the world? You're always joking, and I'm not a robot." Yulongdu put the 2 incubators in his hands on the table, took off his gloves, and sat down next to Dr. Ogi. Ha. Dr. Damu was obviously quite familiar with Yulongdu, and with a long laugh, he turned his attention to the 4 people in the lounge in the live broadcast screen, with a hint of smugness on his face, and asked, "Adu, we a few newcomers in Junshin Town are not bad, right? How do you feel like the back waves of the Yangtze River push the front waves? It's very nice." Yulongdu nodded, and then, the breath of a dragon was faintly excited. "As for whether the waves behind push the waves ahead, I will be in front, waiting for them." "Ha, as expected of you, Adu," Dr. Damu said with a long smile. "And right now," Korna's beautiful voice suddenly sounded. "Adu, Dr. Damu, the first draw for the semifinals has been decided." Oh. Dr. Damu was stunned for a moment, then turned his head to look at the big screen in the field. "I saw. The first game, Crimson vs Green. Close black lens bracket. Boom. Boom." The general player lounge, 2 very different potentials, suddenly rose up after the battle order was determined, constantly colliding against each other in the spacious room, refusing to give in to each other. Hey, if you want to fight, can you go directly to the arena, so that you don't hurt innocent people?" Accompanied by Bai Zi's helpless voice. A warm and invisible power of pacification swayed, and immediately, the fighting intent of the 2 was quickly reduced, as if the morning sun was shining on the snow, it was quickly disappeared into the invisible. "You guy, how many secrets are hidden on your body?" Qinglu looked at Bai Zi with inexplicable eyes. But obviously, Bai Zi has never had the habit of explaining his abilities to others, not to mention that several of them are still in live broadcasts now. Wen Yan just shrugged. Kai Hong didn't say anything at all. After the indifferent pupil swept past Bai Zi's body, he got up and walked towards the registered elves. No need to think too much. Playing Bai Zi or Xiao Huang may still need to consider the number of places to play, but playing Qinglu, he is too familiar. Shout. Seeing Crimson leave, Qinglu was unwilling to delay. Flag habitually. "This format is just right, Bai Zi. When I defeat Crimson, I hope I can wait for you in the final." Done. Qinglu turned around and quickly disappeared from Bai Zi's field of vision. Bai Zi shook his head. "Get up immediately." Pulled up Xiao Huang's softness, who was sitting beside him like a little daughter-in-law, playing with her fingers, and also left the lounge. "Let's go Xiao Huang, let's go to the scene to see too." Oh. Inside the venue, Crimson and Cyan appeared one after another amid the cheers of the crowd. Following the referee's order, the two released the pioneers of the first battle. The first is Red. The battle spirit he chose was Quack Quack. This choice did not exceed Baizi's expectations. After all, the later the strategy is implemented, the easier it is to find mistakes. And the turquoise battle elves are the type of Baizi's considerable attributes. It belongs to one of the evolutionary forms of the Ibrahimovich family. Evil. Moon Elf. It is different from Xiaomao's luminous rabbit who has not fully digested his potential, and it is also different from Baizi's fickle Ibrahimovich. This blue-green moon elf is obviously well-bred, and its excavation of evil elements must reach a very deep level. Under the real black air. Like a bloodthirsty beast. Race, moon elf. Attribute, evil. Characteristic, spiritual power, Monty, does not shrink from the opponent's attack. Level, champion high, level 77, 85/100. Potential, champion. Good, HP, 95, attack, 65, defense, 110, special attack, 60, special defense, 130, speed, 65. Skills, deception, loud roar, flash of electricity, malicious pursuit, wave of evil, black eyes, tit for tat. Genetic skill, see-through. Status, perfect, excited. Introduction, a lone hunter near the heart of the vibrant forest, good at melee combat, with extremely strong endurance and explosiveness. P.S. I went to the city hospital today to deal with my mother's affairs. I came back late, and my mind was a little confused. I owe a chapter, and I will make it up tomorrow. I hope you understand, thank you Tilda. 408. Dazzling offensive and defensive battle. The winner is, please ask. This level of killing intent and savage aura. I'm afraid this rabbit still retains the habit of hunting. Is it intentional to cultivate and let it go? Baizi's eyes were filled with inquiry and thought. And the next second. With the referee's order, the two sides issued the attack command at almost the same time. Quack clack, rock block. Moon elf, lightning flashes. Inside the field. Hum _. Gala Gala waved the bone stick in her hand, and countless rock blocks suddenly appeared out of thin air, arranged in rows and columns, covering nearly half of the sky above the arena. In an instant, these rocks fell in sequence like a rain curtain, and the target was directed towards the moon elf on the opposite side of the field. And on the opposite side. Stab, _. Flash of lightning, at the first time. With the blessing of skills, its speed has skyrocketed like a leopard cat jumping in the woods. With a vigorous posture, he avoided the falling rocks, gradually shortened the distance between the two sides, and approached Gala. The power of the earth. Seeing the moon elf approaching rapidly, Gala Gala immediately slammed a bone stick, and in an instant, an invisible impact spread from the ground, and in an instant, it exploded at the next foothold of the moon elf. There is no way to avoid it. But obviously, Qinglu didn't plan to avoid. Malicious pursuit. Green then ordered. 310 next second. Gia tilde. Accompanied by a wicked smirk, the moon elf's forelimb muscles knotted and stomped down in the direction of the impact without dodging or avoiding it. Moment. Beep. The ground suddenly burst. And the moon elf, with the help of the reaction force and the short burst of muscles, instantly stimulated a rapid explosive force, and suddenly burst into the air. Like a cannonball, in the blink of an eye, it rushed into Galaga. Come on. The two are very close at hand. Just this moment. Belly drum. Crimson pressed the brim of her hat and ordered in a cold voice. Gala tilde. Gala Gala understood in an instant, and with a goo sound in her abdomen, the special consumption channel instantly emptied half of her stamina. Boom, _. The invisible flames rose up, and the breath of the Gala's soared. And at the same time, Gala Gala's eyes flickered, as if she could see through the path of the moon elf completely, and one lowered her waist to avoid the moon elf's pounce. See through. Followed. With the bone stick on the ground as the axis, the body rotates sideways, kicking up to the sky, legs and feet like whips, towards the abdomen CFED of the moon elf passing quickly from the sky. Split tiles. Foot version. ... The belly drum increases the strength of the attack. ... See through and make clear the path of action. ... Crack the tiles, the final blow. This set of combos can be called smooth flow, and the tacit understanding between it and Crimson is also amazing. However, just when Gala Gala can hit the moon elf's waist. Fraud. With turquoise almost immediately followed by a drink. Sip, _. The body of the moon elf was instantly smashed by Gala Gala. It's a stand-in. The red eyes narrowed suddenly. And the next second. Gia. As if changing shape and shadow, the moon elf with a smirk on the corner of his mouth appeared behind Gala Gala in the blink of an eye. The sickle claws popped out, like a spear like a sword, stabbed forward fiercely, and gave Gala a heavy blow. La comes a kidney shot. Sip, _. The blood splattered, and Gala Gala instantly straightened her waist and froze in place. This blow is obviously not light, a trick of deception, which uses the strength of the opponent's attack to counteract the opponent. Hand. Combined with the blessings of belly drum and see-through, it goes without saying that the typhoid fever of Gala Gala's splitting tiles is strong. And the same. The typhoid fever that the moon elf's fraud counterattacked back naturally exploded as well. As for why the green was not fooled. As a man in the elf world, he is an average man in terms of cultivation, although Qinglu can't tell all the data and expertise of the other party at a glance. But in general, it is very simple to see the training marks on the body. The Crimson Galala, whether it is the lines of the muscles or the smoothness of its movements, all explain the effort that the Crimson has spent on its physique and balance. It takes time to exercise, but it doesn't need to be used in actual combat at all. If this green does not pay attention, then he is a fool. And it turns out that his guess was correct. Wow. In the field, after receiving this blow, Gala Gala spurted out a mouthful of blood. But at the moment when it was hit hard, its first reaction was to suddenly twist the bone stick in its hand behind it, briefly locking the moon elf's right claw joint that went deep into the flesh. Endure the pain. Taking a step back, he stomped his left foot on the ground. Poof, _. Immediately, under the blessing of the power of remorse, a small stone pillar suddenly protruded from the ground, burst out of the ground like a thorn, and hit the inner abdomen of the moon elf heavily. Vomit. The moon elf's eyes popped, and its body flew with the trend, but it was brought back by the right claw, linked, on Gala Gala's waist, and it was about to hit the rock pillar ground thorn, that remained unabated again. At this critical moment. Loud. Gia. The moon elf was obviously aroused by his ferocity as well, stabbing the claws in his body like Gala Gala, and actively pulled his body closer and downward. Wu. Jay Sang endured the second abdominal blow, endured the huge pain like piercing the intestines and stomach, and stretched his head to Gala Gala's ear. He was hung in the air by the stone pillar, opened his mouth, and the light inside it bloomed, and all of a sudden, a sound wave that was almost substantive bombarded in Gala's ears. The resulting violent explosion even formed a small mushroom cloud of smoke. Whoosh, whoosh. 2 afterimages. Gala Gala and the moon elf flew out in reverse order, bouncing and rolling dozens of meters from the left and right sides like a rolling gourd. After sliding for a few meters, it stopped and lay motionless on the ground. Moment. A dark figure stood up tremblingly, ignoring the blood dripping down from his abdomen, looking back at Qinglu, then raised his head and groaned. Ooh. Accompanied by a melodious and dull roar, the winner of this battle has already been decided. It is the moon elf. P.S. It is true that Mercury is retrograde recently, cooking, and giving myself a stab from hell, as shown in the picture, a bit scary. 409. Ushering in a turning point, the green ace water arrow turtle. Galagara lost the ability to fight. The winner is the moon spirit of the green contestant. Crimson player, please change the next battle spirit. Sip _ There was a dull sound, and the dust flew again. After the referee's announcement, the moon elf seemed to have exhausted its last strength and fell to the ground. The whole venue was silent. It's not that the winner's attribution is a surprise or something. Instead, it's so fast. From Galagala using the rock blockade first move, to the approaching of the moon elf's lightning flash, and then to the earth power that Galagala pretended to block and was used by the moon elf to approach, then the two sides exchanged fraud and stomp, and finally the moon elf relied on the fiercely added loud sound at the end to win the victory. This dazzling battle of merit and defense has almost come to an end in the blink of an eye. To be honest, many people still haven't reacted a bit. And next, Crimson and Turquoise seemed to have negotiated, and every match was a lightning-fast attack and defense. It seems that they all intend to win the game in the shortest time limit. The strength is so strong that it is unbelievable that Pikachu and Lada, who even mistakenly think that the racial potential is actually great, will appear in the second place. The battle was fierce from the beginning. In particular, the ultra-high-speed battle between the two sides, which is completely beyond the limit of ordinary human eyes, makes the audience have to rely on high-speed video playback to vaguely see it. Pikachu partner champion advanced, level 78, 7100ths. Lada, champion advanced, level 78, 65/100ths. After 10 minutes, the two sides in the high-speed fierce battle with almost no reservations fell to the ground after leaving paw prints and scratches all over the arena. Immediately after that, the third battle was another astonishing combination. 1. King Ho's messenger, Lei Gong, who is one of the three holy beasts along with Sui Jun, and Entei. Lai Gong, champion elementary, level 71, 2100ths. Yandy, champion elementary, level 70, 95/100ths. Wow! There was an uproar in the field. Although Baizi released Sujin ahead, no one thought that after watching the game, they could directly gather the three holy beasts. Unbelievable, unbelievable. Contestants Crimson Red and contestants Qinglu actually released the other two of the three holy beasts, Duke Lei and Emperor Yan. Accompanied by the trembling words of the referee Caesar. In the field, Lei Gong and Yan Di collided. Although the level is inferior to the previous two hands, the background of the lower-level legend has completely erupted, and its sound and light effects are not inferior at all, and even better. Thunder like a waterfall. A sea of fire. The entire arena seemed to be divided into two halves by thunder and flames, as if two groups of heaven and earth were colliding with each other. The sky and the earth were violently violent, and the thunder and fire burst. The successive explosions continued for more than an hour before both sides fell to the ground in the last fight. So far, the entire arena is already covered with cracks and charred. And the two guys who came on the court next, their extremely violent collision, further destroyed the arena even more thoroughly. Boom! How do these two guys feel that they are either intentionally shortening the battle time, or that it is a violent head-on conflict that completely obstructs the view of the spectator? Baizi raised his eyebrows slightly. Shouldn't it be? Are you guarding me? Baizi touched his chin, and the more he thought about it, the more he felt that the two of them had such a plan in all likelihood, and couldn't help but tut. Eyes, no one can see the ambilight flashing. Next second. Kapiman, champion intermediate, level 73, 8100ths. Strange power, champion intermediate, level 74, 5100ths. Observe, with your eyes every time you collect data, the power of Baizi is actually a kind of spiritual power similar to a waveguide. Affects his observation as only a special barrier and distance. It is too naive to rely on shortening the time limit or a little bit of thunder and flame smoke. However, it's really worthy of being red and green, but after opening a little bit of trump card, they all countered at the same time. Baizi touched his chin and continued to look at the venue. In the sky full of smoke. ... Ask for flowers. ... Boom. With the rhythmic continuous and intermittent vibrations of the entire venue, this invisible power dispute finally ended with a roar of distance and a blast of gas. In the field. The strong wind blew, and the tornado formed by the storm swept away the smoke and dust from the arena. There was a mess, and the trees, lawns, and soil were completely smashed into a mixed pool. The Kirby beasts with fist marks all over their bodies, as well as the bruised, red and swollen monsters, were one left and one right, deeply trapped in the alloy wall on the edge of the arena, as if they had fallen into a coma. After both Kirbymon and Monster Force lost their ability to fight again, the venue had to be replaced. The lottery is complete. Coincidentally, it is also a comprehensive field site. The game ushered in the 5th inning. 0. And this game has officially ushered in the turning point of this battle. Slap tilde. Under the referee's order, after each took the selected Pokeball, Crimson took the lead in throwing the finale player. A big butterfly with a wingspan of 3 meters. Bada Butterfly, champion advanced, level 75, 95 100ths. Sure enough, you and I thought the same thing, that guy Baizi released Sujin ahead of time, so let's leave the battle of you demons to the finals and leave it to that guy. The blue-green voice passed through the loudspeaker, reaching Baizi, Kai Hong, and everyone else's ears. However, you are destined to be only a spectator in this you demons battle, Crimson. Because of this battle, I won. Words fall. Qinglu suddenly threw the Pokeball in his hand. Between the flashes of light. Appearing in the field, standing opposite Ba Dahu, is a figure that is very familiar to the Kanto trainers. The whole body is dark blue, with thick armor on his back and 2 cannons on his shoulders. It is the final evolutionary form of the 3 families of the water system in the Kanto region. The water arrow turtle. This time, even Baizi on the stand was taken aback. Qinglu released the trump card ahead of time. P.S. Mercury retrograde, please bear with me, I will make up for it tomorrow, ding yiding begging. 410. Pressing people with force, the last bequest. Race, water arrow turtle. Attribute, water. Characteristic, Riptide HP decreases, water damage will increase. Level, champion peak, level 79, 55 100ths. Potential, quasi-god. HP, 79, attack, 83, defense, 100, special attack, 85, special defense, 105, speed, 78. Skills, cannon light cannon, water gun, shrinking into shell, cannon water cannon, water oath, high speed rotation, water tail, shell breaking, rocket head hammer. Genetic skills, water ring, water jet. Status, perfect. Introduction, one of the 3 imperial families carefully selected by Dr. Damu. After professional cultivation, there are almost no obvious weaknesses. It has a balance far superior to its peers, and its water output is huge. Big close black lens bracket. Carefully selected. 310. Baizi raised his eyebrows slightly, but it wasn't much to be surprised. People are always close to each other. It is normal for Dr. Damu to give his grandson some preferential treatment within the scope of his authority. Just the peak of the championship. Qinglu really released the ace ahead of schedule. Baizi, who was on the stand, was slightly attentive. And on the field. Crimson also froze, but he did not change the spirit, but immediately issued an attack command, wind. 3 fans. Mild tilde. Ba Dahu has a worm wing, and the wide wings that are far better than those of the same family instantly set off a gust of wind. At the same time, as it keeps flapping the worm wings, the powder of purple, pink, yellow. The worm wings drifted down, followed the gust of wind, and swept away toward the water arrow turtle. The performance of the elves does not only depend on the race, characteristics and rank on the paper. The development and utilization of the elves' own characteristics is one of the essential homework for becoming an excellent trainer. Just as Baizi developed the giant golden monster with the help of magnetic force, it compensates for the short-distance explosive displacement of the action force. Although Bada butterfly is inconspicuous, its wings are covered with various scales and powders, which are not only waterproof, but also can be used as an arm to apply poison. At this point, as a trainer of Bada butterfly, Crimson is naturally impossible but not developed. Call, _. As the gust of wind swept through, 3 color scales and powder were dotted in the middle, like layers of colorful ribbons across the half of the field in an instant, encompassing them. PFF tilde. In the face of this, the water arrow turtle just snorted in disdain. The expression on his face was vivid, and the full 10 blue-green exclusive mocking face. Even without the need for a green command, the gun barrel was erected straight, and in an instant, 2 strong water currents rushed out from the gun muzzle. The super-strong high-pressure water flow gathered in midair and turned into a huge rotating water ball. The stormy waves surging forward like a swept Tianhe River, the strong wind, the scale powder. There was no resistance. Was directly engulfed by the water polo. Way to half. La la. Accompanied by the surging sound of the rapids, the water polo swelled again, covering nearly 1/3 of the field area, sweeping away in the direction of Badahu like an overwhelming sea. Such a near full-screen continuous AoE skill, except for the super high-speed like Ferromaloth to break through the surface, only the teleportation of the super power system can be perfectly avoided. Leftover. The distance of the substitute is not enough to avoid such a wide range of attacks, and, holding, under the level difference between the two sides, is tantamount to throwing himself into the net. Then, the best option is to support for a short period of time and then replace the elves, and use the rules to survive this blow with the least loss. It's just that Qinglu and the water arrow turtle played such a high consumption game. Tactics. I'm afraid it won't be so easy for Crimson to complete the elf replacement. On the stand, Baizi's thoughts surged. And on the field. Storm. Crimson was also the first to respond. In an instant. Mild tilde. Accompanied by the delicate insect chirping, when the water wave approached, a circle of silver storm suddenly surged out from Ba Dao's body, briefly repelling the water flow. So heavy. It was as if the pressure of 10,000 tons was surging from all directions, and the energy in the body of Ba Dao, who was struggling to support the storm's shield, was quickly withdrawn. It could feel, at most, there was more. In half a minute, you will be completely exhausted and lose your ability to resist. The Crimson command appeared in time, quickly turn back. Mild tilde. In the field, Ba Dahu struggled hard, and the storm skyrocketed like a flashback, and Ba Dahu took this opportunity, and under the rapid extension of his wings, he was stretched out from the storm as if touching a spring. Blast out of the gap. Like a streamer, it flew towards the front of the podium. Sure enough. X2. Baizi and Qinglu narrowed their eyes almost at the same time, and the next second, Qinglu's command immediately followed. Rotate at high speed. The sound just fell. And the next second. La la la, look at. Accompanied by the sound of Jizan breaking through the air, a huge blue figure burst out of the water, chasing after him. The two are less than half a meter apart. Above. The water arrow turtle, which stretched out its head and body from the rotating tortoise shell, grinned, and, pushed down by the centrifugal force of the rotation, the arms instantly wrapped around its neck, and the sturdy legs stepped down. As if leaving behind to hit the ground, he held down Ba Dao and fell all the way, hitting the ground heavily. Boom. The smoke screen was in the air, and the soil on the ground was undulating and cracking, and a circular pothole that was several meters deep was smashed straight out. ... Skill, stomp. Mild tilde. The smoke screen gradually dissipated, and inside the pothole, the heavy and unwilling Ba Dahu sank deep into the ground like a rag doll. Eyes, gradually blurred. But, at the last moment when it was completely plunged into darkness, It raised the worm wings that were barely able to move, and slapped the sturdy arm of the water arrow turtle. Came. 4.3 The water arrow turtle glanced at Ba Dao, who had lost consciousness completely after the insect wings had slipped, with a puzzled expression. Does this kind of painless counterattack make any sense? But next second, the expression of the water arrow turtle suddenly changed. It raised its head suddenly. At this moment, the sun is shining brightly, but with the passage of time, the heat of the light and the fire attribute energy factor that gradually gathers in it make the entire arena seem to have ushered in the cool summer from the cool autumn in an instant. This is Sunny Day. 411. The third race king, the super fierce fire-breathing dragon. Sunny Day. Change like weather moves, which can gather the energy factor of fire attribute in sunlight and air, thereby increasing the power of fire attribute moves within a certain range, and at the same time making the water attribute within its range. Sexual moves have reduced power. Although Ba Dao did not successfully complete the replacement, at the last moment, he arranged the advantageous battlefield in advance for the generals in the team. In the stands, Baizi's eyes narrowed slightly. If it's a sunny day, then the red trump card is obviously. Fire-breathing dragon. Qinglu also determined Crimson's trump card almost at the same time, and responded quickly. Water arrow turtle, use the rain. Beg for rain. This is a weather-changing trick that is almost completely opposite to the effect of a sunny day. It increases the water element and weakens the fire element. Obviously, Qinglu intends to snatch the weather before the fire-breathing dragon comes into play. Control. But Crimson obviously couldn't let Qinglu Badahu's last dedication. Therefore, threw the last Pokeball at the moment of 25 minutes. Woo! A dull roar came from the white light of the Pokeball. There is no need for a red command at all. Once the orange-red dragon Shadow, who had already sensed everything in the outside world in the Pokeball, was thrown out, it turned into a line of fire and plunged straight down. The target was the water arrow turtle who was about to seek rain. The dragon claw. Iron wall. Click tilde. Following the command to change the blue and green immediately, the water arrow turtle immediately stopped the display of pray for rain, raised its stout arms, and a metallic luster flashed on it. Beak. With a dull sound, the bright green energy claw armor and the metal iron arm collided head-on. Immediately, the water arrow turtle's face changed, and Piran sent a strong force from his arms to the water arrow turtle. The water arrow turtle swayed slightly, and his legs were slightly bent and slid back shoe, but after all, he still resisted the volley. The dragon claw below. The two, with their claw walls interlocking with their arms on top of their heads, fell into a wrestling force one by one. Call. The heat breath from the nostrils of the fire-breathing dragon was mixed with fine sparks, and the stars hit the face of the water arrow turtle. -1 eye. The water arrow turtle's pupils shrank for a while. But the next second. Boom! Crimson, and even some blackened flames suddenly rose up, completely engulfing the water arrow turtle in an instant, and the surging flame impact force contained in it exploded. Skill, Purgatory. Kami. The water arrow turtle was shot straight away in a short cry of pain. Roar. The fire-breathing dragon immediately fluttered its wings to keep up, dashed wildly under the shroud of flames that appeared on its body, quickly caught up with the figure of the water arrow turtle, and pushed the opponent forward. Like an out-of-control locomotive, completely ignoring the struggle of the water arrow turtle's head hammer, and, shelling, on the way, it plowed out a coke that is hundreds of meters long and 5 or 6 meters wide. The black gully smashed it heavily on the alloy wall on the edge of the arena. Flash charge. Boom. In an instant, the roar exploded, and it rose again. So fierce. Zhejian's eyebrows on the stand jumped slightly, and in the blue pupils, an unseen brilliance flashed up. Immediately, the data panel of the ace fire-breathing dragon, Crimson, was easy to show in the eyes. Race, fire-breathing dragon. Attribute, fire flying. Characteristics, fierce fire, Power of the Sun, Monty. When the weather is fine, the special attack will increase. Level, Champion Peak, level 79, 95 100ths. Potential, Tripolar God. HP, 78, Attack, 84, Defense, 78, Special Attack, 109, Special Defense, 85, Speed, 100. Skills, Hot Air, Dragon Claw, Air Slash, Dragon Breath, Purgatory, Flash Charge, Rock Collapse, Dragon Dance, Flame Explosion, Oath of Fire. Genetic Skills, Dragon God Dive, Reverse Scale. Status, Perfect. Introduction. Born as a racial king, he has a power and attack limit that exceeds his own racial value. The dragon factor hidden in his blood is in a semi-activated state. The combat power of leaps and bounds in time. The king of races. Baizi didn't show any surprise. After all, the fire-breathing dragon in Generation, that can fight Mewtwo, the absolute trump card of Crimson, is indeed worthy of this evaluation. Speaking of which, this Crimson fire-breathing dragon should be the third racial king besides his own giant gold monster and Lucamine's wearing bear. And at the moment. Boundary. Steam rises. Crack, click. The water arrow turtle, which was shoved into the alloy wall by the fire-breathing dragon, was gasping for breath, and the gurgling water flowed down the pothole behind him. The set of combos just now, although it failed to break free, but the moment before it was completely smashed into the alloy wall and ate the two ultimate moves of Purgatory, plus Flame Charge, it was still at the last moment, climbing the waterfall, was used to ease the impact and the remaining momentum of the flames. But even so, the water arrow turtle is not feeling well. The strength of this guy, 310. The water arrow turtle looked at the old opponent who was close at hand with a look of surprise, and immediately, his face became ruthless. And at the same time, the green command sound also came. Break the shell. Ka tilde kami. Like a consonance in the heart, the green and green command sound has not been fully transmitted, and the water arrow turtle has already moved with a roar. What needs to be explained here is that the so-called breaking the shell is not entirely free from the carapace. After all, excluding some sojourn elves, the carapace is also a part of the body. The blood and bones are connected, but it is not so easy to fade. Click _. At this moment, as the water arrow turtle shouted violently, a layer of translucent energy armor suddenly emerged from the surface of the body, and in the next second, it suddenly shattered. In an instant, the fire-breathing dragon, who had the upper hand in the wrestling, felt a huge force coming. Immediately after. Poof, _. The water splashed, and the water arrow turtle immediately took advantage of the situation to counterattack. With the help of the power of water jet, it carried the rapids and burst out like a cannonball on the soft belly of the fire-breathing dragon. Skill, Rocket Hammer. 412. A showdown, a fight to the death. Wow. Protruded by the eyes of the fire-breathing dragon in the middle of the chest. Keep sliding backwards. The ground was plowed out of 2 ravines. But even so, the fire-breathing dragon still did not let go of its claws. Earth cast. At this moment, Scarlet Red's indifferent cold drink spread again. Ow. In an instant, as if it had a backbone, the fire-breathing dragon immediately lowered its waist, and at the same time lowered its center. It exerted force with both arms. Immediately, the muscles under the scales are stacked, and the blue veins are like the knot of a python. Call. 2 clumps of hot air spewed out of his nostrils. Roar. In the dull low roar, the fire-breathing dragon directly pulled the willow, twisted its body, twisted its arms, and directly followed the trend, and damaged the water arrow turtle on the ground. Boom, _. The ground suddenly collapsed. And then, the fire-breathing dragon, which disintegrated the water arrow turtle's offensive, directly pulled up one of the right legs of the smashed dizzy water arrow turtle, and its wings shook violently, flying toward the sky. Obviously, this is an attention cast in the name of another full-power earth shot. But it's also clear that Green can't just make the fire-breathing dragon get what he wants. Water arrow turtle, use the shrink shell. Crack, Cammy. The water arrow turtle forcibly escaped from the short-lived dizziness, and the head and tail of its limbs shrank suddenly. Suddenly, except for the right leg that was caught by the fire-breathing dragon's claws, the rest of the limbs suddenly shrunk in the shell. As for the right leg, on the way of retracting, it was integrated with the left claw of the fire-breathing dragon and stuck in the hole at the bottom right of the tortoise shell. And go. Exactly what Green wants to achieve. Just lock it for me and spin it at high speed. Cammy. Accompanied by the green and awe-inspiring loud shout, the gun barrel on the shoulder of the water arrow turtle suddenly spurted a turbulent water current, and the water arrow turtle directly twisted and rotated with the help of this force. The fire-breathing dragon was also forced to turn in midair. And in the next second, it was thrown out by the water arrow turtle, who suddenly released its right leg, and fell directly on the ground. Boom. A roar, accompanied by a storm of smoke and dust. And then, _. In midair, he also adjusted his body according to the situation. The water arrow turtle on his head and feet again aimed the gun barrel at the center of the rising smoke and dust. His body was blue, and it entered the state of torrent, and shot it out. The strongest shot so far. The exclusive direct attack big move of the 3 water-type Yugia. Cannon water cannon. Crack, tilde. It can be seen to the naked eye that the 2 gun barrels on the shoulders of the water arrow turtle bulge like indigestion, and in the next second, 2 water jets with the thickness of an adult's waist spray out. It is entangled and rotated in midair, and at the same time attracts the water attribute energy factor in the air, turning into a huge spiral water column with a diameter of more than 3 meters and spewing down. Its momentum is like the overturning of the Tianhe River. Rumbling one by one. The surging monstrous waves will wash away into a piece of Wangyang in an instant, and the water arrow turtle is also rushed to the sky by the reaction force, almost over the ceiling of the arena. But the next moment. Gollum. On the surface of the water, 1, 2, 3. Countless bubbles suddenly rose up, and faint red light emerged from below the water surface. Then, the steam rises. Not good. The blue-green complexion changed, and the command was given immediately. Water arrow turtle, hold on. Cammy. With the tacit understanding between the water arrow turtle and the green, it is natural that the water arrow turtle starts to move, and as the gravity falls, the water arrow turtle that is preparing to adjust its body into the water immediately raises its arms, crosses it, and covers it. Before the face. Immediately, a layer of green energy shield rose instantly. And the next second. Boom. A turbulent column of fire suddenly shot up into the sky, mixed with a large amount of steam and smoke, and immediately engulfed the water arrow turtle inside the shield, sealing it in the raging sea of fire. Royal 3 Fire Attribute Range Combination Skills. The Oath of Fire. In terms of attributes, water overcomes fire, but the power of flame is strong enough to counteract. In the arena, the original, Ocean Tide, has been quickly dried by the barbecue, and the ground also follows. Dry and cracked, a wasteland. Even the security devices that were not directly attacked at the venue were instantly stressed, and a honeycomb plate-shaped energy shield was raised. From this, we can see the raging fire of the fire-breathing dragon. After the flame column. Sip, _. It fell straight to the ground, and the water arrow turtle that was drilled out of its charred shell stepped out of the pothole. The injuries on the body did not seem to be serious, but after so many attacks one after another, they used, broken the shell, and inspired, rapid. At this time, the water arrow turtle is almost reaching its limit. Qinglu apparently found this too. To be frank, the best strategy at this time is to take back the water arrow turtle and use the backup force of one more than the red to give the water arrow turtle time to rest and recuperate. Repeat this, let's fight the wheel war. Although it seems a bit shameless, this is an application within the rules. Although Qinglu is conceited, he does not exclude using the rules to achieve victory. Because This is also part of the trainer's strategic capabilities. But at the championship level, especially the peak champion level elves like his water arrow turtle and the red fire-breathing dragon, the ray of the Pokeball to summon the elves is too slow. So much so that even with special exchange skills, it is difficult to successfully retreat in such a fierce battle. At this point, the previous experience of Chihang Badahu was a lesson for the past. Therefore, it can only be done one-on-one to the end. The green eyes flickered, and the invisible king rose up, filling the body of the water arrow turtle, and the voice was decisive. One again. Break the shell, climb the waterfall. Click, underscore. The sound of the armor shattering sounded, the indifferent water arrow turtle stepped forward, the energy of the whole body shattered the armor, and the torrent rose to guard, with an indomitable determination, towards the direction of the fire-breathing dragon. Rush. ... Come on, let's fight to the death. ... On the opposite side, the crimson who seemed to feel the blue-green intention instantly pressed the brim, the red pupils flashed with cold light, and the fighting spirit also rushed forward. Okay, Zhao. Hot sand. Roared Tilda. The crimson and the fire-breathing dragon seemed to have a heart-to-heart connection. As soon as the order was given, it had already penetrated its thick claws into the ground beneath its feet. Gollum, underscore. The sand instantly turned red, and then bubbles appeared like boiling water. Roar. The fire-breathing dragon let out a deafeningly loud roar, and at the same time, the muscles in his arms twitched, and a wave of hot sand was violently lifted by the fire-breathing dragon. Under the package of the child, he smashed his head in the direction of the water arrow turtle. Boom. The hot sand collided head-on with the tide and the steam rose with it. And then, the water arrow turtle, which burst out of the water, and the fire-breathing dragon, which spread its wings in the air, met with the tidal waves and sand and dust surging from below. Rock collapse. Lightning fist. 413. The initial defeat, the final victory. Kami Tilda. In midair, the water arrow turtle screamed, and when the right arm swung back with all its strength, the next moment, it suddenly slammed out of the sky. And as the water arrow turtle waved its arms forward. Underscore. A cone-shaped rock block with a length of 5 or 6 meters condensed out of thin air, hanging outside the water arrow turtle's outer arm, and following the water arrow turtle's movements, it also smashed forward in the direction of the fire-breathing dragon. In the face of this, the fire-breathing dragon has no intention of avoiding it at all. Roar. In the bursts of roars, the fire-breathing dragon spread its wings fully, and the streamer of metallic color flickered on it. As if wearing Lumion, it cut open the conical rock block. Steel wings. A little blood splattered from the air. Front end of wings. And the flesh and blood above the forehead that was sharpened by the severely restrained rock attribute factor. But the fire-breathing dragon seemed to be unaware. After passing through the rock collapse boulder, electric light flickered on the already tightened right claw. Drop it. Sip underscore. The dull sound of impact sounded, and the water arrow turtle flew out in a swirling motion, surrounded by electric lights, apparently unfortunately entering a state of electric paralysis. And take this opportunity. 327 doesn't have to give orders to Crimson. Roared Tilda. A pair of fire-breathing dragons with dragon eyes covered in cold light fluttered their wings to catch up, and they circled vertically in midair. After a short charge, a bright blue-purple aura began to form around the body. The aura quickly covered the entire body of the fire-breathing dragon, and at the same time, a dark shadow aura emerged from the inside of the blue-violet aura. In the end, it completely transformed into a dragon shape, and charged violently against the water arrow turtle below. Skill, Fly plus Dragon God Dive. Tweet katakana middle. Tweet. A short burst of humming sounded just now, and the next moment, a dull impact resounded from the venue, causing countless smoke and dust to overflow, and its immediate impact swept it away. A pothole that is several meters deep in the corner of the edge of the arena is exposed. Inside, the water arrow turtle has a weak breath, and it seems to have been completely unconscious and lost its fighting ability. And with an orange-red dragon figure stood up slowly, raised his head to the sky, and let out the roar of a victor. Roar. It's hard work. Qinglu took the water arrow turtle back, and after softly reassuring him, he looked at the fire-breathing dragon in the field with some flickering eyes. This guy is already so strong. In his mind, the scene between his water arrow turtle and this fire-breathing dragon, which had a winner and loser, flashed in his mind. Outside the vibrant forest. In their first battle to acquire the elves, he was slightly better. And this time, the initial defeat, and the final victory. Qinglu muttered to himself for a while, then suddenly sneered. Although it may be unfair for the water arrow turtle to say this, sometimes, talent is not easy to work hard. Make up. Now my strongest ace. It's it. The black-yellow luxury ball was suddenly thrown by the turquoise. Crisp sound. Followed. In the blink of an eye, a huge bipedal dragon beast with a turquoise carapace stood on its feet. The armor-like green shell has barbs on the head, back, and tail. There are 2 triangular holes on both sides of the shoulder socket, the center of the back, and above the knees of the legs. The holes are black, and some are black. Not really. The abdomen and the lower part of the back each have a diamond-shaped gap, exposing the gray-blue striped inner armor similar to the Shakira period. Bangira, _ also known as Bangiras, it is said to have the peerless power to easily change the surrounding terrain. Disaster-type elves. Therefore, it has the title of Desert Tyrant. It is also one of the 6 quasi-god elves that are now known, CFED, and confirmed and included by the Alliance. It is said. The Kalo region is now actively cooperating with the Alliance to verify and record Doran Baruto in this region, intending to include it in the ranks of the quasi-god elves. In this regard, to be honest, the Alola region will suffer a lot. Because its local Scaliosaurus has passed the racial determination as early as several years ago, but due to some reasons that are inconvenient to announce to the public, the inclusion of Scaliosaurus has been carried out all the time. Quite slow. It can even be said that it is stuck in the last step, and there has been no movement until now. In fact, it is not difficult to understand. Although all parts of the Alliance are in a high degree of autonomy, especially in areas such as Kalo, which are known as food, clothing, housing, and transportation, from birth to death, they are inseparable from Malakorman, led by the president of the Alliance branch, Lowe's Group. But anyway, that is also under the governance of the Alliance, and part of the mobilization of its resources and manpower, at least on the bright side, still belongs to the Alliance. But the Alola region is completely independent. Even the regional alliance has not been established, and it is completely attributed to the local king of the island, and the Ether Foundation that unifies them from the economic field. As for the rumors, the Alola region is located in a remote area, the area and resources are small, and the extreme beasts are rioting for a long time. Tilde. These. Just listen to it. Not to mention that Alola's sea area is not small, its local specialty Z-Spar, Special Overlord form and regional posture elf resources. Even the ultimate alien beast itself can be said to be a kind of high-quality resource. To know. In the world of elves, the theme is elves. What is more valuable than elves with high qualifications and high strength? As for the threat of the ultimate alien beast, an action team formed by an emerging private enterprise in the region can hold a house, but the Elf Alliance can't hold a house. The Elf Alliance has been established for hundreds of years. If the force is weak to this level, I am afraid that I don't know how many times it has been destroyed. Leader of Alola itself, and is not willing to be included in the Alliance's territory so easily. In modern society, it is difficult to start a war lightly. I am afraid that the confrontation in the dark is not cheap. In this way, such a big piece of fat can't be eaten, and it can't be hard, so naturally it can only disgust you in these small things. P.S. Let me ask, the protagonist may also have Bangira in the future, so do you think it should be flashy or not? Can it be black? 414. The Quasi-Ethnic King, The Narrow Road. Bagheera. Looking at Qinglu as the last general after the finale, Baizi didn't show too much surprise. After all, from the family contract elf group token of the Bagheera plate armor that Qinglu handed over to him before, in fact, there has been speculation about this. The only thing that interests Baizi is, why does this Bagheera overwhelm the water arrow turtle and become the ace of the green? Thinking like this, when Baizi's eyes flickered, the power of exploration contained in it directly swept towards the giant beast in the field. Immediately, open black lens bracket race, Bagheera close black lens bracket. Attribute, rock evil. Characteristic, sweeping sand. Level, champion peak level 79, 8-5 100ths. Potential, tripolar god incomplete. HP, 100, attack, 134, defense, 110, special attack, 95, special defense, 100, speed, 61. Skills, falling stone, tit for tat, iron wall, staring, ghost face, rock avalanche, stomping, harsh sound, wave of evil, earthquake, sharp stone attack, sandstorm, destruction of death light. Genetic skills, primal power, trample. Open black lens bracket status, perfect close black lens bracket. Introduction. One of the successors of the racial king, the old king has not gone, the new king has been born, the three-legged confrontation, only to completely defeat the old generation of the ethnic king and another new quasi-ethnic king. Only those who can officially climb to the top can have a strong armor with a defense far exceeding that of the same kind. The quasi-ethnic king. Baizi raised his eyebrows slightly suspiciously. It was the first time he had heard this word. Is there a spare tire for this thing? In doubt. Suddenly. As if touching the second level page, the two columns of information bars directly cover Bagheera's data panel one by one. King of races, individuals with aptitudes and traits that exceed the potential limit of the ethnic group. Generally, only one ethnic group will be born, or even impossible. Quasi-racial king. In the transitional moment between the death and life of the previous generation of kings, a new generation of ethnic kings was born. The first, king of the ethnic group, is easy to understand. Anyway, it is an individual who surpasses the potential of the ethnic group, the only one. The second, quasi-ethnic king, Baizi stroked it, and probably figured it out. Simply put. That is, the king of the previous ethnic group was about to die, but he did not die in the end, but by coincidence, a new king of the ethnic group was born at this time. The emperor is not dead, even if you have the appearance of a king, you can only be a prince. Therefore, it can only be the quasi-ethnic king. What's the matter with this setting? This, king of the race, is the same as the divine beast. Baizi secretly complained. But at the same time, another doubt arises. Since the racial king is unique, the birth of a quasi-racial king is already an accident. Also, it is impossible to have two births at the same time. That being the case. How did this other quasi-group king come into being? Just when Baizi fell into deep thought. Now, on the field. Roar tilde. Accompanied by the dull roar of Bagheera, without making any movement, its characteristic, Yansha. It has been launched at the first time. Immediately, the ground began to rapidly sand, and layers of sandstorms rose up, turning into sandstorm tornadoes, and quickly dispelling the previous weather effects, turning into sandstorms. Sandstorms spread rapidly. At the same time, Qinglu's order was also issued, Yingfeng. Sharp stone attack. Roar tilde. The heavily armored Tyrannosaurus stomped abruptly, and between the ground shaking, countless layers of rocks condensed, instantly covering the sky, smashing down like a rain curtain. The rocks were closed. And then, boom, Bagheera kept leaning over and smashing the ground with a punch, and suddenly, countless rocks burst up, turning into sharp thorns and thorns, attacking the feet of the fire-breathing dragon. But in the blink of an eye. Top one by one. The blockade of rocks stretches across the sky, as if covering the sky. One by one. Yangshat's character mixed with the use of sandstorms swept the field, obscuring the view, and giving continuous attacks and weakenings. Ask for flowers. It's next. The sharp stone attacked and destroyed the foothold, and the spears shot straight up. This set is calling. Especially in the arena where space is limited, fire-breathing dragons can hardly escape except for hard resistance. Forcing the fire-breathing dragon to engage in a head-to-head battle. On the stand, Baizi stroked his temples, and a slight gleam flashed in his eyes. After a hard battle with the water arrow turtle, although the fire-breathing dragon won, it was obviously impossible to have no damage and consumption. Attacking the enemy is weak, and using the limited distance of the arena to force the fire-breathing dragon to fight head-on, this is one of the best options for Bangira, who is waiting for work. And if the fire-breathing dragon doesn't answer the trick and is dragged into the positional battle by Bangira, who has already carried the Yangsha characteristic, it may be even worse. Because of the current physical strength of the fire-breathing dragon, Bangira's position has been formed, and I am afraid that it will be dragged to death. In the field. With the level of crimson fighting, it is naturally impossible to see through the tactical intentions of blue and green. But this is obviously a conspiracy, the limited field of play, so that crimson has no other choice but to take the trick. Therefore, Dragon God swoops. There is no way to avoid it. Of course, the brave who meet in a narrow way wins. Roar. In the high-pitched dragon roar, the fire-breathing dragon fluttered its wings without fear. Under the splendid dragon-shaped aura, ignoring the invasion of falling rocks, sandstorms and rock fronts, it carried an endless excitement. With his fighting spirit, he rushed towards the looming shadow of the Tyrannosaurus on the opposite side of the sandstorm. Close. Then you chose the wrong opponent. Qinglu's words penetrated the audience, and then he ordered in a cold voice, "The iron wall takes over, thunder and lightning fist." Ow! A bright color flashed on the heavy armored Tyrannosaurus in the sand. Next second. Choke, _. The sound of gold and iron clashing suddenly sounded. Beg. 415. Concentrate together and reach the pinnacle. Under the impact, the strong wind suddenly swept up, forcing the sandstorm near the two to blow away. I saw. The heavily armored Tyrannosaurus covered in green on the field had one hand crossed on the forehead, firmly against the fire-breathing dragon wrapped in the dragon-shaped aura, while the other arm was like an arrow pulling a bow. Wrapped in the surging lightning and thunder, with a hook, it went straight into the soft belly of the fire-breathing dragon. Click. Boom. With the crisp sound of glass breaking, Bangira's right arm paused slightly, and then immediately brought an energy explosion, which directly lifted the flame-breathing dragon's body out. And at the same moment, sip, _. An orange whip shadow slammed, and swept the door on the left side of Bangira fiercely, making it dizzy and took a half step back slightly. 327, skill, wide area destruction. It's interesting. On the stand, Baizi had a playful expression. With his eyesight, he can easily see that since the fire-breathing dragon can fight back at the moment of being hit, in fact, it is completely capable of avoiding this attack. Lightning fist. However, with the mobility of the fire-breathing dragon, the use of dexterous and fast-flying skills to complete evasion and then counterattack can completely avoid the loss of such injury replacement play. But Crimson just did it. Is there another plan or break the boat? Although Baizi's sentence was a question sentence, the certainty in his tone all showed that he already had the answer in his heart. The next battle, or fighting, was even more tragic. Sip, beak. In the field. Sonic boom, shock overflowing. Under Crimson's instructions, the fire-breathing dragon took the initiative to charge Bangira again and again. And do not evade, even sometimes, even if the attack can be easily avoided, it will deliberately cause the final effect of injuring the enemy 1,000, self-injuring 800, and repeating that change again and again. injury, combat. The audience watching the fierce fighting of Fight to Flesh is full of enthusiasm. But the same Crimson, this obvious tactical intention, also made many trainers who saw through this puzzled to know. Although the battle has so far, the fire-breathing dragon has not suffered much loss at all, and the basic beatings are all equal or even excessive. But, unlike Bangira, who is waiting for work, the fire-breathing dragon has already experienced a brutal fight with the water arrow turtle, and its physical strength and consumption are already not small. Not full at all. Fighting in this way is completely the last resort. If it drags on for a long time, I am afraid that the fire-breathing dragon will have already sent himself away. What is the idea of this kid named Crimson? This kind of fighting does not seem like giving up, but if you continue to fight like this, I am afraid that you will die first. Observing the room, Kona's tone was lazy, and there was a light of thought in his eyes. Haha, with the Crimson Kid's enthusiasm and talent in the battle, it is impossible to give up. Maybe there is some whole card that hasn't been turned out. Dr. Damu's face was always pale and he let out a ha-ha, not knowing if he noticed anything. And right now, Sharona suddenly opened her mouth and said a point of view that made everyone stunned. Have you noticed that since the fire-breathing dragon played against Bangira to the present, there is not a single fire-type skill? Use. Fire department. If he were replaced by an ordinary trainer, he would definitely refute this point of view. After all, Bangira has twice the fire resistance and does not need fire elements, isn't it normal? From the perspective of attribute restraint, it is indeed normal. But no. Manpower is limited, and the same is true for elves. Although the skills of his department can be reinforced, the intensive research of this department, especially the first main department's attribute skills, must far exceed other departments. In this regard, the more it gets to the end, the more the trainer needs to dig deeper and thoroughly into a certain trait of the elves. Just like Lubo's messenger bird in the special chapter, the ice-type skills are indeed weak, but under the confrontation between the freezing light and the sacred flame, they still have the upper hand. This is to specialize in one, and embark on the ultimate peak. Fire-breathing dragon is the same. As a natural flame user, even if it fights against the attributes, the strong and skilled flame power is still enough to bring it a considerable combat power bonus. This road, several people in the observation room have been practiced or are practicing without exception, and it is impossible for anyone to not understand. Therefore, after the four people who had been pointed out by Sharona looked at each other a few times, Yulongdu slowly opened his mouth and spit out two words. Furious Fire, feature, when HP decreases, the power of fire-type moves will increase. Combined with the performance of Crimson's intentional omission of fire-type moves. Its intent. For Yulongdu, it is self-evident. However, is it really that simple? Dr. Damu on the side picked up the teacup, blew the tea leaves, took a sip, and a strange color flashed in his eyes. Grandpa, he knew very well his grandson's tactical level. Furious Fire. Such tactical intentions are indeed difficult to detect, but as a turquoise. With such a tactical intention, Yulongdu and the others can guess that Qinglu can't see through it. And red. This is like a godsend in battle talent, and he has been fighting with his grandson since childhood. Do you really think that this tactic of yours will not be seen through by Qinglu? 4.3. If only that kid Bai Zi was here. In his mind, he subconsciously thought of Bai Zi's blue eyes that seemed to be able to see through everything. Moment. Dr. Ogi shook his head. He picked up the teacup, and took another sip. Bai Zi, Qinglu, Crimson, and Xiaohuang and Xiaolin that Nizi, Xiaomao and Xiaoji were not bad either. He doesn't care if he wins or loses the battle. Anyway, the meat is rotten in the pot. It is enough to see the children of Junqin Town galloping on the field and showing their brilliance. Great relief. Tisk tilde. Meidi is very, v tilde. P.S. You might as well guess, red and green, who will win. This chapter contains pictures. Click the illustration button in the lower right corner of the screen to view the pictures. 416. The blood of the dragon, the outcome is already divided. Boom. In the field. Fire-breathing dragon, whose physical strength was about to be exhausted, gritted his teeth and regained his strength again. The color-striped Bagheera's right shoulders collided head-on. Skill, heavy collision. Familiar explosions, familiar shocks, familiar sonic boom clouds. But this time. However, the fire-breathing dragon showed an obvious decline. After a short stalemate, it was powerless and was directly thrown away. Call. Undisguised, or in other words, the fire-breathing dragon, which has no energy to hide, undulates violently, its wings spread out as much as possible, and it gathers tiny flight factors to hold its body up, above its arms. His muscles jumped, and a pair of powerful hook claws couldn't stop shaking. The fire-breathing dragon's physical strength is approaching its limit. Win or lose. Seems to have figured out. But at this moment, the power of the king around the green body seemed to intensify, constantly colliding with the pure fight of the red. Come on, Crimson, don't hide anymore. Your potential has already said 25 to understand everything. Let me see, you and the fire-breathing dragon have brewed up to the current power. The green voice reverberated throughout the arena, making the audience who thought the victory was about to come to an end suddenly shocked. Although I don't understand. But the guy with the spiky head meant that the little brother in the hat was hiding some killer copper. And opposite. When Scarlet Hong heard the words, he raised his head indifferently, and the exposed scarlet eyes ignited like flames. No words are needed. The fire-breathing dragon, who has long been in sympathy with him, knows that the time has come. Roar. When the light came on, the melodious dragon roar suddenly resounded through the venue. And with this boom, a layer of illusory, smoke-like translucent orange-red flame, shrouded the whole body of the fire-breathing dragon. And along with the appearance of this layer of gauze, a layer of distorted light circles instantly surrounds, making the fire-breathing dragon's figure have a vague feeling. What a high temperature. Vizie's eyes shrank fiercely. Such a sight, the development of this level of fierce fire, suddenly made him a little less confident about his original guess. In the observation room, Yulongdu frowned even more, took off the walkie-talkie at his waist and ordered, "Turn on the safety devices of the arena immediately." Soon, a honeycomb-shaped energy shield rose up. And on the field. As the smoke gradually rose, the fire-breathing dragon's figure was completely distorted and blurred into an orange-red light and shadow. Next second, the fire-breathing dragon was like a jet plane that suddenly started, leaving a burning air tunnel in midair, rushing straight towards Bagheera below. Approaching, waving his arms, and slamming straight towards the diamond-shaped inner armor of Bagheera's abdomen. 1. Explosive flames. The flames blazed up in an instant. Until this moment, the terrifying high temperature came to the arena, and the earth was instantly scorched by embers into a piece of scorched earth, and the alloy wall near the left showed signs of melting. Boom, boom. 6 pillars of fire erupted from the ground in a row, overlapping with all the flame energy accumulated in the fire-breathing dragon so far, and engulfing Bagheera. The gigantic pillar of flame rose into the sky, reflecting on the faces of everyone in the venue, like a cloudless sky. But they haven't waited for everyone to recover from this spectacular fire-type ultimate move. Under the impact of surging flames, the overflowing sandstorm made everyone stunned again. Only see. As the sand and dust disappeared, in the sky above the entire venue, in all the unexpected spaces surrounding the pillar of flame, there were densely arranged conical rock blocks with the thickness of the waist of an adult male. Look around, at least hundreds. And this moment. These conical stones all turned slowly, aligning the direction of the blade with the direction of the 2 figures that were revealed as the flames gradually dissipated. The fire-breathing dragon stood wearily in front of Bagheera, and his left fist surrounded by heat penetrated several inches into the opponent's armor. And its opponent, the whole body, like steel that has been scorched to the melting point by high temperature. All over the body, there is a red scorching color. Bongi is seriously injured. But it didn't fall down. Its arms covered with scorched red cracks stubbornly held down the arm where the fire-breathing dragon hit his confidant. Facing the fire-breathing dragon's eyes, he gave a slightly hideous smile. Whoosh whoosh. Like a gust of wind. Next moment. The fire-breathing dragon felt dark in front of his eyes, and instantly it seemed like 1,000 spears were coming. Then, the surging explosion and tearing pain continued to torture its nerves. Skill, Rock Critical Strike N+1. Immediately. The series of explosions continued like firecrackers. In the face of this apparently well-planned attack, Scarlet Red took the initiative to enter the deep link of potential, and the pain of 10,000 arrows piercing her heart and an axe hitting her body instantly spread. Crimson straightened her waist. The hem of her clothes seemed to be automatic in the absence of wind, bathed in invisible power and lined up. Hold down the brim of the hat. On the bloodless red face, the pair of red pupils shone brighter and brighter. One by one dragon's breath. Woo tilde. In the indistinct whine, the fire-breathing dragon used the hold on move to oppress its own life threshold to the last trace. In the body, in the bloodline that was boiling because of this, the power of the ancient and tyrannical dragon emerged, rapidly gathering from the limbs and bones to the throat. Not good. Green eyes tightened. Destruction to death. 327. The word, light, has not yet been exported. Click _. Completely disregarding the clamped arms, the fire-breathing dragon suddenly moved forward amid the crisp bone-cracking sound, and bit the dragon's kiss on the beast's mouth that Bangira opened with it. Next second. A faint ray of light emerged from the corners of the entangled mouth, almost as if the extreme dragon breath that erupted from a negative distance was poured directly into it, pouring in from Bangira's mouth. Boom, _. A dull pop was accompanied by thick smoke, and translucent blue-purple flashes continued to rise. Quite a while. The light fades away. In the scorched black and cracked arena, Bangira fell on his back with his eyes white and smoke from the corners of his mouth. The fire-breathing Longchun, who had almost no good flesh on his body, pulled his right arm and shook it, but in the end he managed to stand firm. Half squinting his eyes, he looked up to the sky, and let out a long groan that was not very bright, but was full of inexplicable oppression. Roar! In between, a azure color flashed away from the fire-breathing dragon's pupils. Victory and defeat, divided. P.S. Let me tell you, although this potential is a second creation, it also has a source. In the comics, Red Sapphire Arc, Dao and Chinli are respectively because of manipulating the three gods and Lai. Sitting in the air and dying from exhaustion, I also created this setting with this second tilde. 417. Step into a whole new field. vs Xiao Huang. Bangira can't fight. All the elves of the blue and green players are all incapacitated. The winner is the red player from Junxin Town in the Kanto region. Let's congratulate the crimson players for reaching the finals. At the same time, let's give warm applause and cheers to the two players who brought such a wonderful match. As the final verdict fell, the noise and applause suddenly surged over the venue. This battle. Victory is over. I didn't expect that there would be two inversions in a row. Kona in the observation room looked slightly stunned. Although it is guessed that Crimson is ready to use the characteristic, fierce fire, and the continuous accumulation of fire attribute energy factors to hit explosive fire damage. But unexpectedly, not only did Qinglu also find out and were well prepared, after a successful counterattack, Crimson completed another whole card hidden under the whole card, and finally fought back again. Victory is set. Sharona couldn't help but her eyes were full of brilliance. In short, she was aroused by this high-level battle between red and green. Yulongdu did not say anything. His eyes were basically fixed on the crumbling fire-breathing dragon in the field. He would not feel wrong about the fleeting pure and thick dragon might. So, regional posture, mutation, or... Yulongdu thought deeply. On the other side, Dr. Damu's expression was also a little complicated, and he was relieved, but at the same time he couldn't help but sigh. He knew more about his arrogant grandson, but, for Qinglu, the only two he considered as strong opponents were Baizi and Qihong, and defeating these two to reach the top was a matter of he was involved in the only goal of this competition. But now, before he even saw Baizi's face, he had already collapsed in front of the finals, lost to the hand of the red. Dr. Damu could almost imagine the shadow area in Qinglu's heart after this defeat. Especially, the blue-green wave has a huge advantage. It was brought into the rhythm by the red. On the stand, Baizi shook his head and sighed. If Xinglu can take a steady attack, whether it is using, holding, substitute, or digging a hole, even if it cannot completely resist the two blows with all his strength, as long as it is not right, the face is hard to eat, and the battle continues to drag into the war of attrition. It is not impossible to win with stability, and finally win the game. But with Qinglu's conceit, it is tantamount to lack of confidence in his own tactical level, and it is precisely because he is too confident that Qinglu will take risks and play with fire to get chestnuts. Because of this, it gave Crimson and the fire-breathing dragon a chance to turn defeat into victory. Unfortunately, Baizi shook his head with a sigh. Even with him, the crimson still overwhelmed the green. In fact, he really wanted to see Qinglu succeed in defying the sky and changing his life. In the field, the blue-green look stared blankly at the retracted Bangira Pokeball in his hand, and the light in his eyes fluctuated violently. Still, lose. Although he knew exactly where he lost, for Qinglu, losing means losing. In the final analysis, he was not strong enough. That fire-breathing dragon, if it was purely one-on-one, he knew very well that, now it seemed, there was no certainty of victory, whether it was the water arrow turtle or Bangira. Call. Qinglu let out a deep breath, glanced in the direction of Qihong and Baizi in the stands, and walked off the podium indifferently. If you lose, but you don't need to feel sorry for yourself. After all, he is green, but it's not that he can't afford to lose. Wait, no matter the thorns in front of you or the untapped journey, I will cross them one by one. In my mind, two faces flashed by. And at this moment, Qinglu, who stepped off the podium, only felt his brain dizzy, and his spirit seemed to enter some inexplicable state. Feeling has become extremely sharp. The murmur of the wind, the floating of light and dust, and the vision seemed to have entered some kind of stagnant slow passage. And then, he seems to realize the pain and state of mind of the elves. Burning, freezing, tearing, and, almost the same unwillingness and remorse. Open black lens bracket. I'm too useless to win the final victory for the master. Close black lens bracket x6. In the corridor, Qinglu suddenly stopped. The tense body suddenly loosened. One by one, his palms swiped gently on the elf ball carried by his waist. At this moment, a bright smile like never before appeared on the face of Jia. Glanced at the young man. You've already done enough. At this moment, Qinglu officially took a step forward on the road of potential, and stepped into a new field. Look inside. One old man and one young man suddenly looked at a certain place as if he had felt something. After a moment, Yu Longdu turned his head and whispered to Dr. Damu, who was stunned. Congratulations, Dr. Damu, it's really British, a young boy. It's overrated. Ha. Dr. Damu waved his hand with a face full of spring breeze, and said modestly, but he couldn't help laughing out loud. Sharona and Kona on the side suddenly looked at each other. Some didn't understand why Dr. Ogi laughed so happily when his grandson lost the game. Is it possible? Not biological. As if they had learned some great secret, the two women looked at each other quickly, with a secret expression on their faces. At the same time, Baizi, who was about to tell Xiao Huang a few words before the match, flashed his eyes, turned his head to look in the direction of the corridor where Qinglu left the arena, blinked slightly, and said with a chuckle, interesting, you will be the first. chasing after. What's the matter, brother Baizi? Xiao Huang on the side noticed Baizi's distraction, tilted his head and asked. Okay Zhao, it's nothing. You need to understand this thing yourself, you will understand later. Baizi rubbed the little girl's hair and chuckled. Xiao Huang nodded obediently, and didn't ask any more questions. She has always regarded Baizi's words as a holy scripture. Moment. Baizi retracted his palm in the little girl's nostalgic look, with a formal face, and met Xiao Huang's weak eyes. Standing tall. Girl, Xiao Huang, are you ready? With me, a showdown. The girl was dull for a while, and finally, under the expectant and encouraging gaze of the boy, she nodded her head. P.S. PY a wave of good brothers Twin City colleagues, a clockwork monster adopts me and plays as Iron Man at the beginning, has a unique style and is well written, hehe tilde. 418. Evenly matched. No, it's rolling. Silver Mountain Venue. Afternoon. 1:30, _. Friends from the audience at the scene and in front of the TV screen, the next thing to do is the second semifinal of the Kanto League by Yinshin Conference. Let us welcome the same Kanto with warm applause. Baizi of Junshin Town is the first mover, and there is Xiao Huang contestant. The high-pitched voice of Caesar, the commentator and referee, was contagious because he was also looking forward to the fight. In other words, he was looking forward to every battle of Baizi. That's right. This well-known commentator in Kanto has long been fanned by Baizi. Even though Crimson Red and Qinglu contributed an absolutely super high-level battle show in the morning, he still has higher expectations for Baizi. Want to ask why? All right. In fact, he is a fan of Pharaohmerod. He mainly loves Wu and Wu for Baizi, and he expects it naturally. Caesar is very much looking forward to seeing the beauty of Pharaohmero once again in the next battle. Posture. But it's a pity. For Baizi, Philomelis has completed its debut, and the rest of the stage belongs to other partners. Over the venue, expectant cheers and warm applause came one after another. This year's event is truly a worthwhile trip. Needless to say, Baizi, almost every event will bring refreshing 327 surprises. And Xiao Huang. This can be called the youngest champion trainer in history. The strength of the Archaeopteryx makes many combat power parties very much looking forward to its reappearance. To know that one has a clear-cut stance and looks like a yellow party, fanboy's combat power-up master these days, but he has not less touted the combat power of this ancestor bird. Of course, a lot of various smoke bombs have also been placed, and there is no doubt that the brain powder is. Along with the applause, Baizi and Xiao Huang also walked out of the corridors on the left and right, respectively, and boarded the podium on both sides of the battlefield. Soon. Venue is confirmed. The circular arena spread all over the dense forest slowly rises, accompanied by a few sounds, and it is fixed in good condition. SA forest site. And then. The safety device was raised and quickly disappeared into the air. The staff also figured it out a few times in succession. Although it was said to be a novice, the intensity and energy level of the battle were completely no less than the regional championship or even better. For safety reasons, it is better to turn on the safety device as soon as possible. In the field. Then, please select the battle spirits for both players. The referee's announcement, CFED, Baizi and Xiao Huang looked at each other and threw the pokeball in their hands almost at the same time. White light flashes. Wu tilde. On Xiao Huang's side, among the flashes she threw, a sturdy figure slowly deformed. The whole body is orange, with a plump figure, with two slender antennae and a small the horns. The belly are cream-colored with stripes and extend to the tip of the long tail. The limbs are short, and the back has a pair of petite bat wings that are very different from the torso, and the interior of the bat wings is navy blue. Fast dragon. The iconic quasi-god in the Kanto region, and at the same time, one of the most representative spirits of Yulongdu. Wow, The scene suddenly remembered the subtle noise and discussion, which is understandable. After all, Kuailong has considerable recognition and fame in the Kanto region. And at the same time, opposite, Baizi swept his eyes, and instantly obtained the specific data of this Kanto quasi-god one by one. Race, fast dragon. Attribute, dragon flying. Feature, multiple scales Monty. When the state is full, the damage received will be reduced. Level, Heavenly King Intermediate, level 63, 15/100. Opening square bracket ellipsis closing square bracket. Status, perfect. Introduction. The heirs of the ethnic hegemons on Kuailong Island are good at flying, and have considerable talent for the manipulation of their respective attributes. Looking at this fast dragon full of fighting spirit, Baizi frowned slightly. And at the same time, the white light that exploded from the Pokeball he threw also condensed and formed. Sip, underscore. Accompanied by a dull and loud sound of heavy objects landing, a dangerous aura instantly filled every corner of the forest site. It was completely different from Xiaohuang Kuailong's clear fighting intent. On Baizi's side, what overflows is like a silent predator standing at the top of the food chain. Silent and breathless, but a chilling sense of extreme threat. Terry tilde. A dull murmur slowly sounded, a flying saucer-like disc-shaped figure, sturdy limbs stretched out in all directions, a metal body, a silver-white iron body, and a dark blue X shape intertwined in front of the red eyes. Iron bar. Quasi-god, giant gold monster. Moreover, it is a silver-white flashing giant gold monster. Wow, underscore. With the appearance of the silver-white giant monster, there was another uproar in the venue, and everyone stared intently at the two elves facing each other in the arena, clenching their fists and staring at each other. Just looking forward to it. The opening scene is a duel between two quasi-gods, exciting, so exciting. On the network, it is even more noisy. My dear, it's the quasi-god duel between the fast dragon and the flashing giant gold monster. Who said that this game was not as exciting as the last one? That is to say, Xiaohuang does not say. Baizi is a kaleidoscope of surprises, which match will disappoint people. Open black lens bracket What does upstairs mean? Don't say what Xiaohuang is, I have to stand by Xiaohuang in this wave. Nothing else, I am invincible. Invincible dragon. Close black lens bracket. This can also be leveraged. Close black lens bracket. There is no doubt that the reincarnation of the third floor gangster. But they are all quasi-gods. I stand in Baizi, nothing else. The silver-white giant gold monster is so handsome. He is indeed handsome, but who is stronger and who is weaker, we still have to fight to know. Close black lens bracket. Yes, but I estimate that this wave of battles will be earth-shattering. Open black lens bracket nonsense. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. Do you still need to say this? Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket. It is. Close black lens bracket. There is a lot of noise on the internet, but most people are looking forward to this battle, and the view is evenly matched. After all, Baizi's power is obvious to all, and Xiaohuang's magical power of augmentation is no longer a secret. Baizi is strong, but Xiaohuang is definitely not weak. However, bullet punch. Like a bullet out of the chamber, under the action of the turbulent magnetic force, the giant gold monster pulled out a blurred distorted light and shadow in the air, and charged in an instant, a pair of closed forearm thorns. Entering the abdomen of the fast dragon, without the slightest stagnation, he took the fast dragon straight across the half-court, and nailed it into the alloy wall on the edge of the arena. Boom. The loud noise exploded in the ears of everyone, and the superalloy wall was smashed into a huge pothole that was several meters deep and nearly 30 meters in diameter. The cracks spread from around the pothole, covering almost 1/3 of the entire east wall of the arena. At the very center of the pothole, Kuailong's head was lowered, and most of his body was completely embedded in it, motionless, as if he had lost consciousness. The entire venue was silent, and the internet seemed to be in a state of disconnection. No one thought that this much anticipated quasi-god duel was not evenly matched, or even a fight. It's been a completely unraveling. Spike. 419. Do you think I am a rabbit and you are a lion? On the stand. North District. Tisk tisk, it's really not showing mercy at all. Qinglu, who had both hands on the fence, shook his head teasingly, then turned his eyes to Crimson, who was also watching the battle, and said, if I remember correctly, this little girl or did Bai Zi personally lead the way into the trainer? How do I know this question? Crimson with a silent expression couldn't help but slander in his heart. In my heart, I can't help but feel a little weird. Based on his understanding of Qinglu, the proud monster, although he wouldn't be obsessed with failure, he wouldn't be so imposing, would he? You just lost a battle in your own hands, and when you turn your head, you can run over and talk to yourself like you're nothing. This. Shouldn't it be a fake green? Just thinking about it, it seemed that he noticed the strange expression of the red and green eyes, and the green eyes suddenly stood up. What's your look? Let me tell you, this battle will be won back sooner or later by my Uncle Tilda. The red eyebrows jumped, and the eyes were silently withdrawn. Yep. That's the smell, And this moment. On the field. Xiao Huang was stunned for a while by Kuailong's clean second defeat. When she took Kuailong back, Bai Zi's steady and inaudible voice came through the loudspeaker. Xiao Huang, I should have taught you, the lion fights the rabbit, and use all your strength. What's more? Do you think I'm a rabbit and you're a lion? Bai Zi's voice was not loud, but when Xiao Huang heard it, it was like thunder. Yeah. Although Brother Bai Zi is Brother Bai Zi, he is also the top trainer and the opponent who will fight with her on the field. If it is only with the mentality of showing something in front of the person of your dreams, then it's not just contempt and insult to Brother Bai Zi. Same. It is also the disregard of the expectations of those elves who fight for themselves. I see. Closing his eyes slightly, Xiao Huang stuck the Pokeball with the fast dragon on his forehead. I'll take your share with me. Open your eyes. Putting Kuailong's Pokeball in place, he took out another Pokeball's little yellow hair without wind and automatically, exuding a different look all over his body. Just like how she looked when she fought against him for the first time in the Viking forest. The corner of Bai Zi's mouth was smiling, and there was a flash of reminiscence in his eyes. That's it, Xiao Huang, come on, don't think about anything, calm down and attack with all your strength. Come on, X2. As Xiao Huang threw the Pokeball, a flaming horse with azure flames suddenly appeared in the field, hissing upwards. But it can't wait for everyone to appreciate its gorgeous appearance. Next second. Boom, underscore. The giant gold monster charged with a sudden burst of magnetic force, its iron fist shone with orange-red color, and smashed its head towards the flashing flame horse just released from the Pokeball. Arm hammer. And just in the nick of time. Underscore. It seems that the last one arrives first, and it seems that it has broken through the boundaries of time and space, and an invisible force is instantly linked to the body of the flaming horse. The flame horse's breath suddenly rose. Then. Step underscore. As soon as the footsteps stepped on, the entire figure suddenly changed, and between the flashes of lightning, an afterimage was left that was penetrated by the giant golden monster and appeared on the other side of the arena, like a teleportation. Skill, lightning flashes. Flaming horse blue flash beginning of the King of Heaven, level 61. 95 100ths == the peak of the King of Heaven, level 69, 95 100ths. Tisk tisk, just hung up. The white azure blue eyes were like clouds and mist, and the pupils flashed. Earthquake. Terry Tilda. As soon as he hit the empty giant gold monster, he immediately understood, and immediately, without any effort, he rounded his arms, rolled one by one, and slammed down the two arms that were merged on the other side. Rumble 1. The earth and rocks were surging, and the entire arena was shaken by this colossal blow as if it were overturned. And then, Dot 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 dot. Ask for flowers. Spiritual strength. Underscore. The atmosphere was awe-inspiring, and the power of missing instantly gathered on the forehead of the giant golden monster, turning into a turbulent torrent and rushing forward, and in the blink of an eye, the flaming horses that were unstable on the ground were instantly engulfed. The surging spiritual power rushed past, directly plowing the ground along the way out of a gully, pushing the flaming horse, and rushing straight into the wall on the other side. Moment. The flame horse slid from the scorched black and sunken wall, and Xiao Huang silently retracted it and quickly threw the third pokeball. However, this time the pokeball seems to be thrown extra high. It was at this time. Underscore. The filamentous energy appeared around the giant golden monster, and Bai Zi was stunned for a moment, because this was one of the manifestations of declining defense. When Bai Zi subconsciously reviewed the battle situation. With his unforgettable memory and keen insight, he instantly locked onto the flaming horse, which seemed to be a small movement. Wagging the tail. But next second, accompanied by the frigid wind pressure from above, a shadow suddenly obscured the sunlight. Bai Zi suddenly raised his head. God's rod, projected from space, crashing down. The big steel snake. The moment Bai Zi recognized the other party, the big steel snake also fell with strands of sparks. The ultimate shock. Boom. The arena shakes. All the earth, stone, forest and trees shattered in an instant, forming a sky full of flying sand and rocks, and the dust was soaring even higher than the ceiling of hundreds of meters, and the entire venue shook violently. When they got up, a lot of rock fragments flew towards the auditorium and were stopped by the energy shield raised by the safety device. Hit a circle of ripples. Moment. The earth and stones fell back, the smoke and dust disappeared, and the audience, who had recovered from the shock, finally calmed down a little. Seeing this, the countless audience members who were immediately shocked took a deep breath. Beg underscore. Immediately afterwards, he hurriedly scrambled to look in the direction of the arena. 420. Xiao Huang meditating during the battle. There was smoke and dust, and there was some fog in the arena. The huge circular forest with a diameter of several hundred meters has long been destroyed on the battlefield. The entire arena was completed into a huge funnel-shaped pothole, and the gravel, sawdust, sand and soil were pushed out layer by layer and piled up, and mixed together. Right in the center, the obsidian chassis with energy-absorbing, shock resistance and other characteristics has been revealed, and the twisted grooves have been smashed open. The whole body jumped tightly, the big steel snake as straight as a sword was inserted upside down, and its forehead was nearly half deep into the obsidian. And just below it, the figure of the giant gold monster only showed 2 arms. Hoo-hoo. A clear gasp came from the loudspeaker. Bai Zi looked at the girl on the opposite podium with her shoulders undulating and sweat on her forehead. Her expression was calm, and her eyes seemed to be 327. Showing a smile. Followed. Bai Zi was keenly aware that a force was evacuating from the big steel snake, but the aura of the big steel snake whose energy level even suppressed the giant gold monster dropped sharply. Under the investigation of Bai Zeji's power, the level also quickly fell, and soon fell below the champion. Large steel snake. Champion intermediate, level 73, 85 100ths == Champion beginner, level 72, 85 100ths. Tianwang advanced, level 67 100ths. And right now. Pop one by one. As the applause sounded, Xiao Huang raised his head for some unknown reason. That's right, showing the enemy's weakness and making noises. Bai Zi smiled lightly. Subsequently, he was like a teacher who was graduating students and asked, "It can't be." Never careless. Xiao Huang said subconsciously. And the next second. You use what I teach you very well. Remember what I told you about one of the most important rules of fighting in the wild. Before you are completely sure that your opponent is incapacitated. The girl's emerald-like gem pupils shrank suddenly. Hold on. I have to say that Xiaohuang has really grown a lot. At this critical moment, she fell into shock and didn't even take the time to look at it, but gave instructions to the big steel snake as soon as possible. But unfortunately, it's too late. Click, click. The sound of golden stone grinding suddenly sounded, and I saw that the two exposed arms of the giant gold monster suddenly stretched out, and the 6 silver-white iron claws on the left and the right penetrated deep into the big steel snake-like iron cones inside the stone skin, and continued to tighten the hoop in depth. Immediately. Roar one by one. The big steel snake, which was still a little dizzy, was instantly awakened by severe pain, and it was unable to hit the spirit and use the hold skill. Boom. But even so, there is no way to break free from the pair of giant gold monsters, which are incomparably miniature iron arms. Creak. In the smoke and dust scattered again, the giant gold monster that he pulled out from the depression of the obsidian slowly pulled out an arm again. Click. Repeating the old technique, he nailed the claws of the third arm to the top of the big steel snake, and pulled it in the direction of his arms. Instant. The scarlet eyes of the giant gold monster met the eyes of the big steel snake. Thief son, are you good at playing? After showing a wicked smile, the giant golden monster suddenly slammed down with a hammer. The atmosphere suddenly sank as if being torn apart. Next second. Boom. Not inferior to the previous violent shock, the audience, who had almost been shaken out of their experience, lunged back slightly, sighing, wow, in their mouths as the dust flew up and down, and then he looked at the field again. At this moment, the big steel snake has returned to calm. The snake's body was meandering, its eyes were white, and the behemoth with a huge depression in its forehead lay motionless in the pothole, as if it had lost its ability to fight. You commanded the giant gold monster to defeat Xiaohuang's big steel snake, and gained a little, battle experience +10, giant gold monster experience value +15, arm hammer proficiency +3. The system beep sounded again. At the same time, the giant gold monsters who defeated the 3 main force of Xiaohuang in succession also quietly increased a level, the breath fluctuated rapidly, and was quickly suppressed by the giant gold monsters. Championship Elementary, Level 71, 5/100. Baizi swiped at random. Followed. Aiming at Xiaohuang, who took the big steel snake back, his eyes encouraged. Come on, that's it, use your resourcefulness, do your best, and let me see you grow. Puff, puff, puff. The violent heartbeat reached her ears, and the enormous pressure brought by Baizi, who went all out, made Xiaohuang not dare to be distracted to observe Baizi's betting eyes. Brother Baizi is too strong. If the Archaeopteryx stays at the end, I am afraid I will not be able to increase the power of victory at all. Then, the Archaeopteryx must be played in advance. And, in order to increase fault tolerance and avoid the possibility of being left behind, I need people to give me time to procrastinate. Xiaohuang contestant, please release the elf as soon as possible. After estimating the remaining stamina value and the consumption of vibrance power, Xiaohuang finally looked certain when the referee reminded the release of the elf again. Then, take out a black and yellow luxurious ball placed at the front of the elf belt. Please. After whispering something softly on his lips, Xiaohuang immediately threw the Pokeball. 4.3 As for herself, under the astonished gazes of everyone, she just sat cross-legged, and under the watchful eyes of tens of thousands of eyes, she entered the deep space on the podium. In level meditation. Oh. Baizi raised his eyebrows slightly, and immediately turned his attention to the new comprehensive venue. Click, _. With a crisp sound, a white light flashed out of the open Pokeball. Hild tilde. Accompanied by the familiar sweet and innocent cotton sound, I saw a petite and cute elf deformed from the light, and lightly fell onto a protruding rock on the edge of the field. P.S. Skin. Cough. Guess who I am tilde, one hollow down pointing triangle 1 tilde tilde.